All right, you're gonna need headphones. And I'm gonna send you the link. Good morning.
Hello, everybody.
We start moving today. Okay, y'all. Babe, you want to give a rundown about Taylor quick before we go into the courtroom virtually, everyone?
All right, so for those of you who don't know, Taylor Conley was arrested for murder
Yes.
in Washington.
Yep.
I was going to say Wisconsin. He is currently serving life without parole. But today, he's having a resentencing hearing, and he has served, 16 years?
16, 17 years.
And he has rehabilitated.
He really has.
He's always working on bettering himself and helping others and this and that. And he wasn't the one who pulled the trigger.
And
He was just there. So I don't
Yeah.
think it's really right that he serves a life without parole.
this is a case of teenagers, I believe around 16, 17. He was under 18, I know that. He was between 16, 17. Taylor was thrown around the system as well growing up. No real parental vision, if that makes sense. And the reason he got life without possibility of parole is because somebody died while there was a robbery in progress. So there was already one crime being committed, but somebody also died in that crime. The drug dealer that was killed, yeah, the drug dealer died in the situation. The drug dealer was going to get robbed by these teenagers and had this history, and yeah, the drug dealer died. So because there was a robbery happening and the drug dealer was killed, life without parole. So he has done all sorts of things to better himself from the inside. He has a magazine. He's done music with Bubba Sparks, Seth Anthony. Yeah, he helps train companion dogs, and he really does. He's been rehabilitated. As I try to remind people a lot, you can still go downhill fast. People don't understand. You can still be druggies in prison and do bad and just not give a shit, especially when you're, let's say, 17 years old and you're told you're never going to leave this prison again, right? You don't think you're ever going to see freedom again because that's what you're being told. Hey, Matthias, stop it. Hey, I'm live. Can you stop? Thank you. Yeah. So let me get the courtroom up here. I actually did not know. Matthias, seriously. You gotta get out here, dude. Come on. No digging right now. Hi, Peaches. Hey, Sharon, Stacy, Corky, Hippie Soul, JD. Hi, Vexing. Hi, y'all. Chatty Jen. Cotton Candy Investigates. Okay. I just have to... Babe, can you come get the cat? He's like digging in a box. It's weird and it's loud. Okay. All right, so it's not on yet. Right? Is that right? Let me make sure I got it right. Okay, yep, okay. So, all right. Okay. All right, let me pull my chat up now. There we go. Hi, Mystic. Hey, Cammie. Sharon. Pamela. Thanks for being in here, guys. Save the tatas. You don't know the story to this one? We just quickly went over it a couple minutes ago. Excuse me for 1 second. Okay, so about 17 years ago, Taylor, who, by the way, is a new dad of a beautiful baby girl named Mia. Taylor was a part of, not making good choices back when he was a teenager, 17 years ago or so, and was hanging with the wrong crew, a product of the system. And him and a group of people were robbing this drug dealer, and the drug dealer was shot. And because he was shot and he died during a robbery, that is life without the possibility of parole. And in Washington State, when they say life without the possibility of parole, they mean life without the possibility of parole. And so today, 17 years later, he actually has a resentencing hearing because he was under the age of 18. There was drugs involved, stuff like that. So there is a lot of laws that kind of go with a person's brain on drugs under the age of 21, or in some states, some places under the age of even 18, but a lot of places under the age of 21. They will look at cases sometime differently because their brains were not what they should have been, right? When you're that young and you're on drugs, which I honestly think is fair, but I know at this point people just think I'm what do they call me now? All these murderer protector and all this bullshit. I have Stockholm syndrome of people who kill people. It's like, what the fuck? I'm absolutely crazy. Hi, Trinda. How'd you know? You made it to a live? Awesome. No problem, Sharon. That's just a quick recap. After this, we can... No, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it's streaming live. She sent me this and said it will be streaming, and that we can watch it live. I did send his beautiful wife, Cecilia, who a lot of you here might know. Cotton Candy knows. She's very awesome, and she's married to Taylor. And they have conjugal visits, and they have a daughter now that's a couple months old, and she's gorgeous. And so I'm really hoping that Taylor gets to walk out of prison one day, because I think with everything he's already done from being in prison, I just imagine what he can do from being free. And he really would like to help guide other teenage kids so that they don't make stupid mistakes like he did. And I just think he can do some very powerful work, because he's already done very powerful work from inside. So just imagine giving this man a shot. Let's say they even give him, house arrest for a couple years, or maybe they think he needs to do several more years, but then go free or something. Right now, he has no chance at freedom, but today he might get a chance at actually walking out of that prison one day, someday. And we hope it's sooner than later.
Yeah. Maybe it'd be a different thing if he was just wallowing in there and being a jerk inside and not doing anything to better himself or anything like that. But that's not the case. He really is trying. And it's not that fake trying where they just say they found God and this and that. No, he's actually doing stuff.
Yeah, he doesn't just preach at us. It's not like, oh, you know what I mean? So it's not one of those situations. He obviously does have God in his life, but it's not something like Don Wells, let's say, preaching, you know, whatever at us.
Yeah, Janelle, he was on the channel.
Yep, he's been on before. We can pull that up in a little bit.
He's not Chris Watts trying. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely not Chris Watts. Okay. All right, they changed the courtroom. That is the new one. Okay.
I just refreshed.
Just refresh. Okay.
Not live yet. Yeah, we could end up. Well, the best case scenario is they give him time served and schedule him for release. Worst case, they decide to keep with life without parole. So we're really hoping for the former, that he gets released. I think more than likely he'll probably just he'll have an end date at least, but he'll still have to serve more time. But we're very hopeful. Hey, Vixen, Sharon Tuck, Thor. What's up, dude? Yeah, that's right, Pamela. And they got a family now, so I mean that's even more reason to give him a chance.
Mm-hmm. Now, Cecilia, I know, was
Thanks, Cammie.
feeling it the other day because prosecutors would still like life without parole. I think that's crazy, in my opinion. We've known Taylor for what, two years now? Have we known them?
Mm-hmm.
It's been, yeah.
I think life without parole should be reserved for like really
bad,
awful people.
The evil, yes.
Like not a teenager who starts off with a B&E and someone ends up dead.
And on drugs, and yeah, and by the way,
that's horrible. I mean,
he owns his shit too.
A person lost his life. Like it's no joke, and you know, definitely deserved prison for that, but not for his entire life. I mean, I don't think that's right.
No, I don't either. Which is why he was able to have this hearing today, because you know, there are certain laws and things that were able to be looked at. His age, the drugs, and how old he was. And again, looking at his history of being in the system and in like boys' groups homes back then, where they were raping and abusing these children in those places. So, yeah. You know, another one with a rough background who, again... But Taylor never tried to cover up. He said, you know what? I made my choices. I made my mistakes and never. No,
I mean, anybody could like easily get caught up in something like that. I mean, you have a group of friends. Mm-hmm. You know, you do some illegal shit and things just go too far one time and that's it. Your life is over. M. Shannon, have you ever watched Ro Clausen? She has a channel on YouTube. Adam, her now husband, was sentenced to 203 years. He just got out last year. Well, that's good. I mean, the whole point of prison, I mean, is rehabilitation. It's not just punishment. And Taylor has rehabilitated. He absolutely has. So I see no reason why they shouldn't give him a shot. I'm very antsy.
Me too.
It was supposed to start at 10?
Well, I don't know. That's when he was supposed to be there, yeah, but it doesn't mean... I don't know if they're seeing other people before him or what. Or what's happening. She sent me this and said this is where it will be streamed. I changed the courtroom. Here's a new link. Yep, the channel will stream it. Share your screen and comment. Oh, we'll be able to comment in there.
No, I think she means like we'll just comment about what's going on to the viewers.
Oh, she asked me if we could record it too. Which we are right now, right? Because it's live.
Well, yeah, it'll be on the YouTube. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because she was like, record it. I want a copy of it.
Janelle, if I get in trouble or accused of anything, I want Cher and Mark on my side and the rest of you.
Right? You guys, oops, we're all humans. You guys could kill somebody tomorrow driving your fucking car. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? A lot of us smoke weed.
There was that one truck driver. He, I can't remember what happened. His brakes failed. And he crashed into a... Traffic was backed up and he crashed into it and he killed quite a few people. And I can't remember where this was, but the mandatory minimum, like he ended up with life in prison, no parole, and the judge was actually, he was really upset. He's like, "You don't deserve this, but this is what the law is." So yeah, that's pretty sad. It was in Colorado. How old is Taylor now? He's 35?
35, 36 maybe. He's around my age. He's a little bit younger than me.
Yeah.
So he's been in prison half his life.
Oh, they overturned that sentence? Oh. Okay, good.
Oh.
Yeah, because all I ever saw, I remember the courtroom and the defendant, I can't remember his name, he just started crying. Because that was accidental. I mean, could he have, like, taken the ditch or something? Yeah, but I mean, you can't take someone's life away because they panic. That's not right. So hopefully they're just running late. They do live stream these court things, so. And it is Cowlitz County?
Yep, this is what she sent me.
Okay. Reduced to 10 years. Well, that's still an awful lot, but
I'll double check this first.
better than his whole life.
Just in case. But it's probably, honestly, they're not going to get to him right on time, probably.
Well, these other ones are fairly short.
Yeah.
Like 10 minutes, 8 minutes, 30 minutes. So it might just be the one thing, or could be 3 hours. We don't know.
Right? That's why I'm like, I don't know how long we're going to be live when this is going to happen, but yeah. Yeah, I don't know. They clearly don't record every case either, so. But probably because Taylor's got, people around the world. Oh, Cecilia says they just moved to courtroom. Okay. Hold up.
They just
Wait a
went
minute.
to the courtroom?
Hold on. Is the first link. Okay, courtroom 1. Hold on. Moved to courtroom 1 because 3 was too small for all the folks that came.
Oh, wow.
All right, so let me send you courtroom 1. Wow, that makes me a little... Okay, good. I'm so happy. Okay. All right, we got to move courtrooms, y'all.
You sent the link on Facebook?
Yes, yep. All right. All right. Thank you, Cecilia. Good luck, Taylor. We are all on edge.
Yes, we are. I don't even know what to do with myself.
I know. You're rocking.
I am. I'm like rocking back and forth here.
Mark really wants to shake this man's hand one day.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to give him a huge hug. I don't even
And
care.
ride motorcycles. I know that's your thing.
Yeah, we'll go for a ride.
Hi, Zena. Hi, everyone.
Yeah, if he gets
Chatty.
out, we are 1,000% going there.
Oh, yeah. There will definitely be a trip planned for that in the future.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to go and visit Cecilia no matter what. But
Oh, yeah. She's awesome.
yeah, she is.
Man, he's nervous. You should see him right now. Let me turn the camera on.
Yeah, I just don't know what to do with myself. I just want this to start. It'll probably start soon if they're moving into a different courtroom.
Yep. Moved to courtroom 1 because courtroom 3 was too small for all the folks that came out. Is the first link I sent you. Yep, courtroom 1.
Sharon, that's horrible. So sorry. Refresh.
Need a cigarette, baby? Oh
just
my
got
God, his knee is, he's bouncing his fucking knee up and down. Anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. That's cute, baby.
Is this happening right now? Oh, it's happening, Tammy. It's happening. Damn it. Let's get that man out. Yeah, it'll probably be a few minutes because they had to change courtrooms. Too many people showed up.
You all see him? He is anxious.
Mm-hmm.
It's so cute. I think I need to smoke some pot again.
What's your thoughts on the Crumblies being charged with manslaughter? Oh, the
Crumblies. That name sounds familiar. Let me quick look it up. I don't know how to spell it. Is it? How do they spell it? K or C? Crumbly?
Where did that go? Oh, right there. Yeah. Crumbly.
Oh. Oh.
Hey, Susie.
Murdered 4 students? Oh, his parents guilty? Okay.
Well, how
hold on.
old was he? How old is he?
In July 2022, New York Magazine published a handgun for Christmas. Wait, hold up. Jennifer currently pushed through the glass door at the accurate range. So the mom bought the gun for the boy? 15-year-old boy? Oh, I mean, okay, yeah, here's my thing. Yes. If child under the age of 18 brings a gun to school and the parents buy a gun, yes, I think parents should be reliable for giving their child a weapon. My children have weapons, guns, bows, they hunt. But never, ever, ever have I mean, they know that, okay, gun safes. They do not go to the school. And yes, if my kids did that and I purchased them a gun, and I'm not checking their backpacks and shit or know what they're going to school with, I do feel that's, yeah, I do think, I think the parents are a little bit responsible there.
Mm-hmm.
But I always did check, and I know that, yeah, my kids, I guess I have more faith in my kids than to do something stupid like that. But 15-year-old, you just bought the gun 4 days before? Something's weird. Like, nah. And I think parents should be able to judge their children's mental stability to even have something like that.
Yeah, and there's a difference too between like a hunting rifle and a pistol or an AK or whatever too. I mean, if they want to have a semi-automatic rifle, I mean, coming from Canada, we're a nation of hunters. I had a 22 when I was that age, so I mean, that's not an issue, but I couldn't just go and grab it anytime I wanted. It was in a locked cabinet, and it should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, Lil Wang, Tammy Ayo, Squids.
Yeah, the kid had major issues. That goes without saying. Oh,
That's...
it's live.
Ah! Taylor!
There he is.
Taylor!
Okay, can you all hear it?
So we have a large number of people here. I'm telling you now, you're not to have conversations. We are here to have a court hearing. We are not here for you to have conversations. Secondly, I want to make you aware that if you have a cell phone and the cell phone goes off, I will take it. So get your cell phones turned off now.
See all the people reaching. Doop.
All right, counsel, we do have one other matter I need to take care of first.
Julia! I see her. Yeah, I think that's her right up front.
Who's standing there?
Not sure.
We should full screen this.
Okay, do it.
Good. All right, cause number 22-1-00898-08, State of Washington versus Brandon Casebolt. Mr. DeBray, I believe.
Yes.
And do we have Mr., and I apologize if I'm misstating it, Casebolt?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Mr. Leduc, are you appearing for the state on this? I don't see anyone else.
I wasn't intending on it, but Your Honor, I could, I'm not sure exactly what it's on for, but I'll.
It's on for just a review. Mental health. Okay. All right, with that, Mr. DeBray, I'm actually going to defer to you at this point. This is on for review. Judgment and sentence was on September 27, 2022, so not too long ago. So Mr. DeBray, you're muted.
Your Honor, I don't have any information from DOC regarding
Could be my
my
brother.
client's compliance with the mental health sentencing alternative. My proposal would be that in the absence of the state having any information that he's in anything other than compliance, we strike the hearing today. Of course, the court can set another review hearing, and the state can inquire with DOC about how my client's doing.
He thought it was.
And
me.
Mr. Leducer, I know you're getting caught off guard here from what I understand. So my thought is, since it sounds like maybe you're not familiar with the case, that I go ahead and just strike it today or set a new review hearing.
Yes, Judge, thank you. I'm looking at it right now, and I don't have an objection to Mr. DeBray's proposal. I don't see any recent documents from DOC indicating any non-compliance. So I would defer to the court on
No,
how
this isn't even
far
about
we set this out
Taylor.
for continuous review.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything either in the file. So Mr. Casebolt, what I'm going to do is set another review hearing just to keep on top of this. And I'm going to set it for December 16, 2022 at 9 a.m. You are required to appear on that date and time, maintain contact with DOC. Okay.
Okay.
All right. All right. That's it for that matter.
And Judge, I'm sorry, did you set that over to a date certain?
December 16 at 9 a.m.
This judge is stern.
Yep.
I would ask that the people that are on Zoom, please keep your connection muted until you are possibly called, but remain muted.
That's not us, right? She can
No,
hear
we're
us,
not on the
right?
Zoom call.
Okay.
All right, that brings me to the other matter of State of Washington versus Taylor Conley.
Here we go.
I hope I'm saying that correctly. 06-1-00457-1. This is on for a resentencing hearing. And we are first going to address the request of the jail before Mr. Conley is brought over. Do we have someone from the jail?
Yes, Your Honor.
Right.
So we would request that he be brought over in restraints. He's already been convicted. It's not a trial. So we would request that we be allowed to bring him over in restraints.
Oh. Okay.
Mr. Leducer, do you have any?
Well, Judge, I guess the starting point in this is the requirement that the court conduct an individualized analysis of the weighing factors. And it looks like
charged with
that's
murder, Kim.
the extent of the information that's provided to the court outside of just the obvious that Captain Blutz just stated, which was this is a non-jury proceeding. This is a resentencing. He was convicted of aggravated murder in the first degree and is currently serving a life sentence. So those are the basic facts that the court has before it in terms of an individualized inquiry. Although I am with all due deference and respect to the security concerns that the jail often has in these situations, I've been through this sort of a hearing before, and quite frankly, I'm hard pressed to point to an aggravated set of circumstances where I would advocate for restraints. So ultimately, I think the starting point is that we need to do the individualized inquiry. I think the court has a limited amount of information before it. I will have to defer to the court, but again, I really don't have a strong argument to make based upon these facts and circumstances that the court should utilize strengths.
Counsel?
And the defense is requesting that Mr. Conley be allowed in the courtroom without restraints. I think that given the balancing factors for this test, it weighs in the favor of the defense. Mr. Conley has been well behaved at DOC, infraction free for 5 years, I believe. He's made it to minimum custody at DOC, which is a really big event for an individual with a life without parole sentence. Didn't hear anything from the jail about likelihood of committing a violent act or trying to escape or anything like that. Mr. Conley, as we provided in briefing to the court, has matured quite a bit over the years and is certainly capable of conducting himself appropriately in the courtroom. So we asked to not have any restraints.
So they're going to let him go in the courtroom?
He's going to come
So,
in. Yeah.
with that, in looking at the overall information that the court has here, and looking at potential issues that can be considered, seriousness of the present charge, the defendant's temperament, character, his age and physical attributes, his past record, past escapes or attempted escapes, threat to harm, self-destructive tendencies, risk of mob violence, possibility of rescue by other offenders, the size and mood of the audience, the nature and physical security of the courtroom, and the adequacy and availability of alternative remedies. So looking at those, the issues that this court does have is courtroom safety is of utmost concern to the court. And there is no question the defendant, Mr. Conley, was found guilty of aggravated murder in the first degree in 2008. And understanding that he is now in minimal, what'd you say, minimal custody, minimum custody?
Correct.
Yeah, at DOC. And you indicated something yesterday, and just for the record, the conversation was started over email. That's where we're at this, why we're at this hearing. You had also indicated he hadn't had any infractions, I think it was.
That's correct. I believe the state has the DOC records as well.
Judge, the last I obtained from DOC representative, and I provided Mr. Downs, or showed him.
Can you imagine
anyway,
what he's going through
well,
right
he
now?
can look at it, but and I was going to be moving to admit this information, but the last infraction that DOC has is on September 15 of 2017.
Okay. So it's been quite some time since there has been an infraction.
He was just there,
And
Panda.
so that does help reduce some concern. At the same time, I have to look that we have a very packed courtroom.
Please don't restrain him.
And that is of concern in as far as safety. And so what I am going to do at this time is not require the full shackles. But what I do want is just the stun. I'm not quite sure what you call it. The leg. You know what I'm referencing? I'm not sure what it's called.
Yes, I know what you're referencing, Your Honor.
Okay. Can you identify what it is?
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, it's a
I
stun
think that's
cuff.
fair.
Okay. So again, looking at a lot of these factors just flat don't apply.
Okay.
Or
That's a big one.
when I look
Yep.
at size and mood of the audience, the size is very significant. I don't have an issue with the mood at this point. The nature and physical security of the courtroom. The court does look at the fact that it is a smaller courtroom. So that
Yeah.
does have some concern. But looking at the other factors as indicated, as I've already talked about, I think that the stun cuff would be the most appropriate to use in the courtroom.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. His wife, I believe, is in the courtroom.
Yes, she's
I
in
can't
there.
see her.
I think she's the one sitting behind that man, but I don't know. Maybe she's on that side.
There?
No.
No.
Right there.
Any
hands
questions
right
from the
now.
jail?
In the blue. Right there. Leaning over.
No, Your Honor.
Oh, right there.
I think.
Anything from the
I'm
state?
not sure though.
No, Judge, just, I think the parties would need to
Or would she
understand
be on
about
that
what the
side?
timetable is for
Okay.
proceeding.
I don't know.
So I didn't ask, the jail had talked about bringing him in greens. I don't know if that's what you had planned or not. That's the only other thing I wanted to
Okay, so
clarify.
He's
I asked
going
the
in the
jail
courtroom,
previously
like,
about
now, like
bringing
today,
some
right?
civilian clothes.
Yeah,
and he- and
they're
he-
just
they were
debating whether or not to
accommodating.
bring him in
That's a little
shackles
bit
or
late
what.
now for
Okay.
that, so I just assumed he'd be in jail clothes.
Okay, all right. All right, so how long will it take the jail to get Mr. Conley ready and brought over?
It would probably take us about 15, 20 minutes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, so with that, we'll look at restarting at 10 a.m.
Oh.
Okay.
Ah!
Anything further, counsel?
No,
I'm gonna have a panic attack for him.
All right.
Bye, Taylor.
Well, where's Cecilia? I think she's sitting right there. I think that's her in the blue in the front. I'm not 100%. It's a little blurry. I'd assume she'd be in the front though.
I would imagine so, yeah.
No, but I don't feel like that's.
That doesn't look like, looks like an older lady.
Well, don't say that.
No, I mean, we don't have a great picture quality here,
Yeah.
and it's hard to tell with all the masks and stuff.
What is she doing? That judge looks stern as heck, man. But she's
Kinda.
fair right now. I think that's fair what she. So far, fair.
Yeah, I mean, if she was like uber strict, she'd say, yeah, bring him over in full shackles. He was convicted of aggravated murder. We're not taking any chances with this one. That would be a bad, bad sign. But
I'm so sorry. I need to go outside.
yeah, we'll switch this over to my phone. I guess we might as well stop sharing.
Or we can just share.
Or we can just leave it go,
Yeah.
I guess. I'm just gonna do a little flippy and mute this. And then we're both like nervous as hell. Okay, so I'm gonna, just bear with me, folks. Back's itchy. Whoa. I can't even imagine what Taylor's going through like that. My heart's just pounding, y'all.
all right.
Hopefully. Why is that echoing? Is it echoing? Oh, I'm sharing the screen. There. Okay, the echo should be gone now. I don't know why Streamer does that if you're sharing screen. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes it'll Echo. Oh. You need to add it on or something. Can't calm down. Just seeing him there. Oh, I mean, this is happening. It's real. Can you text Cecilia? Ask her what she's wearing so we can find her. I don't know if she's still in there, though. She'll have her phone off, but. You want to braid my beard? Yeah, share, she's done that before. Give me like the Viking braids or whatever. Oh. Oh man. Big day. I like this judge. I mean, she was fair with that. So that's a good sign. And the fact that she said a lot of those factors don't even apply. I mean, that looks very good. It's very much in Taylor's. Shut up! Very much in Taylor's favor. So I'll share the email that work. Okay, I'll tell her. But you tried to email, it didn't go through, or what happened? We get it! If anyone doesn't know the train's crossing, you deserve to get smacked. That's it. Oh, I'm so nervous. Can't sit still. Normally I'm like calm, right? Reason. But nope. Not this time. Send her a message in her on TikTok.
Oh.
Says,
Okay. Okay, Dippy.
smoking a breeze. Yeah. Well, we're hoping for really good news.
Dippy.
And 140 of you glorious Mama Jammas here waiting with us. Appreciate you being here, y'all. I know this isn't like the big trending stuff with Billy Joe and Leilani and all that, but this is a big deal for us. We've been in contact with them for a couple of years now, and we consider them friends.
Dippy, I got it. I got your number. I'll text you after this. Yep. Thank you.
She got your message, Dippy. The law can't get this for exactly.
Cecilia said, let me go show up on camera so we know what she looks like using.
Okay.
Can you see the courtroom?
No, I can't because I had to stop sharing because it was echoing.
Oh, shit. She just entered the room. Damn it.
Okay, I'll run up there. And yes, it was a life sentence without possibility of parole. That's how it is in Washington. I don't think there is a life with parole. Could be wrong about that. But I think in Washington state, life is life. That's it. Okay. I will get off of this, get back on the computer, and share again. She's there waving. Right dead center. Texted Cher that we see her waving because I don't know if she's on the YouTube. Oh man. Okay, so for those of you just getting in, there was a bit of a kerfuffle this morning. There were more people showed up than they were expecting, like the audience. So they had to move to a different courtroom, and now they had a little meeting on whether or not to bring Taylor in with restraints, and they decided to put a stun cup on his leg or something like that. So he won't have restraints, but he'll have a thing, I guess, on his leg where if he gets out of hand, they zap him. I don't really know. But yeah, he's going to be brought in probably in about 10-15 minutes now. And we see I think in the middle of the courtroom there, that woman walking right there, that's Cecilia. So I think when she sits down, she's actually off the screen. Yeah, that's true, Panda. Yeah, he's served, I think it was 16 years. Was it 2000? I can't remember. It was 14. Maybe it was 14. I can't remember. Freedom believer? No, he was a drug dealer, but that's irrelevant. We all have the same right to life. But it was a B&E that went wrong. And that's why it was life, because if somebody dies during the commission of another felony, it's instant life. Yeah, just because he dealt drugs doesn't mean he deserved to die. Like there's no getting around that. What happened was wrong. What happened was terrible. Oh, B&E break and enter. Yeah, no, he's not the one who did the unaliving, but he was present. Oh. Yeah, he was a teenager. Yeah, it's not like if someone my age, if I were to break into someone's house and thinking that no one's there or whatever, and then the struggle ensues, I end up killing them, I deserve life. Because, I'm a grown man. I'm 45 years old. I know the difference between right and wrong and all that. So, yeah. But a kid, like teenagers, they're just looking to, that dude's a drug dealer. Let's go rob his house. We'll probably find some dope and some cash. And then he ends up there and things go bad and the guy ends up dead. Where is Cher at? Cher is downstairs. I'm only 5 years older than you. I look a lot older than I am. I started going gray when I was in my 20s.
She was saying hi.
Yeah, we saw her waving, but I think she's sitting too far to the left. We
Yeah.
can't see her.
Where's she?
Yeah, I gotta pee.
Here. I told her that you're very nervous right now. She said, "Aw."
I am. I'm getting more and more nervous every second that goes by.
Oh man. Okay. Will you bring my ring out? Back with you? Thank you. Yes, I will. He is very shaky right now. That is crazy. I don't think I've ever seen him this nervous. Or wait, I want the other one. Can't even hear nothing. I got it all muted and shit. Didn't I bring the phone charger in here? What the fuck? Oh yeah, I did. Okay. Here it is. I'm cold, y'all. It is cold in Canada. Look at my purple's all washing out. No. Wait, is this it?
Yeah. Medalhões. Can you hear him purring?
It's like, free Taylor! Someone's telling me that I'm not allowed a Cash App in Canada.
You're not. Well, Canadians can't have a cash app.
I'm Canadian American, so I have a Cash App. I lived in America for 23 years. I have children who are half American. We get dual, so I know what y'all trying to do. Oh, these motherfuckers.
Matthias knows I'm nervous. Just want to get down.
I'm gonna tell you something right now. People think they can bully me or just repeat the same fucking thing over and over about Billy, and I'm just like, that's gonna change my mind. You know? Again, as you see today, I'm about rightful convictions, people. Not just about locking up people and throwing away the key. I'm more about understanding the humans, right? Because here we are today, technically backing another murderer. Oh, ho, ho.
Oh. If anyone has a problem that, you can
Fuck off.
honk on Bobo. Then.
Unique trauma obsessed. Thanks, Boo. Everyone who's got my back through this mess, I know I've kind of taken a vote that what I'm going through right now is worse than Don Wells' case. A lot of people told me, "Oh yeah, this is worse. You're getting it worse," and I feel that. But at the same time, like, look at me. It's not. Remember me in the Wells? I was drained. I was looking scary, right? So, I don't feel that in this case at all. And sure has no poker face. So. I don't. Yeah. So I appreciate people that
Well, we went
understand
in.
my side.
We went into that with a different, like right
That's
from the
true.
start. Billy Joe said, "I think it's possible my daughter did something." So,
That's true. Yeah, that's
so
true.
there's no,
Tanya.
no saying no. We didn't have anything to do with it. We don't know what happened, but no, she isn't saying anything like that.
TC Dippy, yeah, y'all are. You guys are awesome. I
Yeah,
appreciate
Don was
it.
draining.
Don was very...
This stuff is draining.
Yeah.
I mean, not so much for me because I do a lot less than Cher, obviously, but it is. It takes a toll.
Well, and when all I talk about, when you go to work, you're worried, all I talk to you about is these cases. That takes a toll, too.
Yeah. New follower, welcome, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah Barnes. I love that last name, Barnes. Like Tammy Barnes, my sister from a different Mr. and a different Mrs.
Every Barnes I've ever met has been cool. There was a Barnes when I was in the military, I remember.
Well, my grandma, my mom's mom is Barnes, so I just always liked that name, even though my grandma was not a good person.
Oh, Janelle, your husband gets to listen all about them, yeah. I'm sure he loves that.
You can tell when he's like a little bit irritated. He comes home from work and being stressed, and then he was like, one time he's only said it one time, but I'll never forget how he said it. He's like, just once I'd like to come home from work and not hear about death.
There are days when it's just a bit much. I got so much on my plate, and I come home and yeah. But it is what it is.
Yeah. Xena.
Oh, you named your cat Groot? Ariana Grande.
I'm shocked I haven't scared everyone off. I still have clients to life coach. I'm like, I didn't scare y'all off. I want a Maine Coon. They're so beautiful. And I want one of my fucking cats that I left in Minnesota back too. And a fucking dog. We can have a dog now, y'all. We have a yard. Just saying. Anyone wants to send me
hang on a minute.
No.
God. We have enough pets?
We can have a dog now, y'all. We got a yard.
Yeah. Can doesn't mean we will.
Yes, it does.
Just hang on there.
Not today or tomorrow.
We'll see in a year.
Just kidding.
We'll see in a year.
Well, after we pay off debt. I know.
Yes. That's the priority.
And we gotta get the kids here, and we gotta...
Yep.
I gotta go see Billy and meet the family in person because, damn it, I wish I was already there.
I wish I was in that courtroom right now.
Yeah, there's that. I wish we were actually be there in person. But I'm so happy that we got people here showing up.
Yeah, Janelle. I mean, I know what the odds of that are, and they're not small.
Oh shit, Dippy, that's awesome. Oh wow. Yeah, could you imagine? Could you imagine? Oh shit.
I come home from work and there's a
We want a little French bulldog.
yeah, they're cute.
He wants a little French bulldog, but then we need one little dog, one big dog, because I'm a big dog person.
2 dogs now? Okay, we gotta stop on them.
No, you already
Is it
know.
hot in here?
No, you know that it comes in twos.
Well, you come in 2s.
Shut up. This is
Hey!
not appropriate. You made me embarrassed. Yeah, but I left my damn Roddy
Yeah.
in Minnesota, so
Roxy.
not Roxy, Zoe.
Zoe.
Oh my gosh.
It's been so long.
Yeah. The kids will put her on video call with me sometimes, and she doesn't even care about me.
Oh, electronic medium. That's awful.
Electronic, hey! Oh no! Oh, I asked.
You get the doghouse.
So I asked Cecilia, "Are you doing okay right now?" She said, "Yes, I am on peace."
Come on. Yeah,
let her know
the
that
mini
you're
French
all-
bulldogs.
Yep. I just let her know that there's 162 people right now virtually there in her corner.
Oh, someone's watching.
Oh, Heather's.
I don't know, Heather's Haven, if you're watching on our stream or if you're watching the courtroom stream. Okay, seen some movement. Seems like something's happening.
Something's happening. She
Oh,
wasn't ready.
opening doors.
People walking.
People shuffling around. What's going on? What's going on? Are they bringing them in?
Okay, so that's not Cecilia.
No, Cecilia was in a black blazer.
Okay.
She's sitting like, I don't know if that's her.
Oh,
I watched her walk off to the left side, so she's probably way over there.
I'll have to rewind later.
I got a feeling Taylor's gonna end up sitting right there, just off screen too.
Damn it.
Yeah, they need to pan the camera over.
They do. Yeah, they do. They gotta get.
But we'll at least be able to hear what's going on, even though we may not be able to see Cecilia and Taylor. But
Yep. This is interesting. I don't think we've been in a virtual courtroom yet before like this. This is our first time doing this. This is,
yeah, this is interesting for sure.
if we can't be there in person, this is a way to do it. That's cool.
Oh yes, Janelle, don't forget to hit the thumbs up.
Yeah, please do share it out if you support
And
correct convictions.
you got free puppies in 3 weeks. Well, I'm glad you don't live in this city, because Cher would probably take one.
Oh, fuck yeah. I'd ask for one. She'd probably say, okay. Or she loves them all too much. And I'd say, help me find one.
Okay, more people are coming in. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on.
I hope. Do you think Cecilia gets to get a hug or something? I don't know how that goes. Probably not. Maybe not.
I don't know. I don't think that they would have an issue with that. Hey, Dalen.
Little Miss Mia, you are just a baby right now, but if you look back on this one day, I just want you to know, you have an awesome dad no matter what. And I hope that you watch this back one day and he's there with you.
Husband shut it down, Janelle. Yeah, well, we got too much going on. We got 2 cats, a couple of strays keep coming by. We got enough for now. Give me that look.
What look?
I know that look.
You don't know that look.
Mm.
You don't know me.
Oh my God. Things are tangled. That should be good. Bearded dragon.
I can't have an animal that I'm afraid to feed, y'all.
Microphone is fading in and out. Yeah, exactly. Electronic medium. She's not. She knows what's up. Oh, all rise. I don't know if they're muted or.
Yeah, they're probably muted right now.
Clause number 06-1-00457
Zena, stand up.
-1 in the matter
was
of
thinking
State of
about it.
Washington versus Taylor Conley. We have Mr. Conley here present in the courtroom
There he is.
with his attorney,
She's
Mr.
armed.
Downs, and Mr. Leducer on behalf of the state. This is the defense motion. So counsel, I know there was a question of which of you was going to proceed first, but it is a defense motion, but would you prefer to have this, hear the state?
Well, my understanding is that we are here resentencing, so it's not the motion portion. We've done the motion, the state has agreed. So we're at resentencing typically for sentencing. I don't know if that was, so for sentencing or resentencing, typically the state will present their information first and followed by the defense. But, you know, we both have witnesses to call that we can go out of order, but in terms of presentation at the end, I prefer to have the state make their recommendation. We know what the recommendation is. Obviously, the court knows what our recommendation is, and then followed by Mr. Conley's allocation.
Okay. All right. So with that, I will hear first from the state.
And sorry to interrupt, this is a preliminary matter. The parties do have one exhibit each that we've stipulated for entry into the court record.
Okay.
One is video of some testimonials for Mr. Conley, and the others DOC records provided by the state.
Okay. Mr.
And-
Leducer.
That's correct, Judge. And on the bar, plaintiff's exhibit number 1, and the defense exhibit, I'm not sure what the number is. It might be 101, but the parties have stipulated to the admissibility of those for the purpose of this hearing. I had indicated to Mr. Downs that I didn't have any problem with him going first because one of our 2 victim impact people hadn't arrived yet. Looks like I just got a message that they have arrived. So I've asked our staff to escort them up. So
Okay.
that may take just a moment. The state's intention was to have them address the court in the typical victim impact, I guess, manner. But because the court is certainly aware what the state's recommendation is, I plan to defer until we hear from all the defense witnesses to essentially respond to their request for an exceptional sentence downward.
And also as a preliminary matter, I think that we should probably address the legal issue as to what the framework is for resentencing under Monchke, just because it's a somewhat novel resentencing. There's not any case law that deals with it, and the Supreme Court didn't really give us a guidebook in their opinion. So I did want to address that because there was a correction I needed to make for my sentencing memorandum.
Okay. So first off, in regard to the exhibits that have been stipulated to, those will be admitted, both of those. Can you identify, the clerk could identify just so we make sure to have their record?
Defendant's exhibit number 101 and state exhibit number.
Okay. Those will be admitted.
He's been
All right,
14 or 16
with that,
years.
2008.
Mr. Downs, if you want to go
So
ahead and
14.
present on
It
that.
was like
Thank you. So initially I was thinking that at resentencing for murder first degree that the court would be looking at a standard range sentence. However, that's incorrect because RCW 10.95 for the aggravated murder statute exists outside of the Sentencing Reform Act. So I consulted with Mr. Monchke's attorney who has done a few of these resentencings, and his understanding is essentially the court can impose some determinate sentence anywhere from 0 days or impose essentially an indeterminate sentence of life in prison without possibility of parole. So there's not really a standard range sentence here. So
So the
there's
judge
not
can
any
say 0 days.
burden
He
of
could
the
get out today?
defense to show mitigating circumstances to go below the standard sentencing range because the standard sentencing range does not exist. My understanding from rereading Monchke and looking at Miller and Houston Sconiers, which Monchke relies on, this court is required to exercise discretion in hearing evidence about potential youthful mitigators, and then after hearing that evidence, decide with its discretion whether to impose a sentence that's life without parole or impose some determinate sentence. It's not something where the defense has a burden, like in an exceptional sentence downward situation. It's simply the court hears this information and then imposes a sentence like in Houston Sconiers that is reasonable in light of the circumstances. So the court has that discretion to impose almost whatever sentence it pleases. The other weird quirk of this is that since aggravated murder exists outside of the Sentencing Reform Act, it's unclear how the court imposes community custody. I think potentially the court can, as part of its inherent authority to impose sentencing conditions, may impose some sort of probation, but I think it would exist outside of the SRA. So that's the other unusual complicating factor, but
I have a good
I just want to
feeling.
make sure
I have
that
this- I have a really good feeling.
the court was aware of what our position is and that we're on the same page as to what we're doing at resentencing.
Let me make sure, I'm not sure I fully heard you, is you say can have community custody or can't?
I
couldn't quite
think
hear.
that's what's unclear. I think that since this exists outside of the SRA, that the court can't impose community custody, but it can impose conditions, sentencing conditions. So potentially a type of probation, but again, it's not fully fleshed out yet for the courts.
Okay. Mr. Leduc, anything further?
Well, Judge, after some fairly extensive briefing, the court and myself are hearing this new proposition for the first time. I think at first glance, I agree with Mr. Downs in part, and I disagree with him in part. Because he was sentenced at age 20 for aggravated murder in the first degree, there was not a standard sentencing range. The legislature mandated one and only one sentence, and that was a sentence of life without the possibility of parole. After Monchke, the court, the appellate courts allow the sentencing courts to exercise discretion to determine whether youth is a mitigating factor. So clearly, I believe the authorities support the proposition that the defense has the burden of showing by a preponderance of the evidence that that there is a substantial and compelling reason to justify a sentence other than the sentence that the legislature required. In some cases, the legislature requires a standard sentencing range. In other cases, like aggravated murder in the first degree or a 3 strikes case, the legislature mandates
Yes,
life.
electronic medium.
So nothing about
They
that
do have a baby.
Yes.
sentencing scheme, if you will, changes that the party who is requesting an exceptional sentence, whether it's the defense asking for an exceptional down or the state asking for an exceptional up, changes the general law that the burden is on the party who's asking for an exceptional sentence. The standard is preponderance of the evidence, and all of the other sentencing requirements come into play. I think the most recent case that I cited in my brief was State v. Rogers, 17 Washap, second 466. It's cited on page 5 of the state's memorandum. So that's the state's position, and that's my sort of on-the-spot response to what Mr. Downs is just now raising. With respect to his first point, which is a determinate sentence, indeterminate sentence, I agree to the extent that the court would, if the court does believe that the defense carried their burden of showing by a preponderance that youthfulness is a mitigating factor, then
God, this
the
guy.
court is free to impose a
It's
determinate
his job. He
sentence.
doesn't want prisoners out.
I'm not
Prison
sure,
loses money.
hearing for the first time how that plays with community custody, but I mean, generally the only exception to some sort of a determinate sentence is through the ISRB, which clearly doesn't apply here. So the state's position is that yes, the court has the discretion to impose a determinate sentence of a particular number, just like it would in any case, even when there's a sentencing range. The court, with the exception of an ISRB, sentences to a number. It's a number within a standard sentencing range. When the court imposes an exceptional sentence downward or upward, it has quite a bit of discretion.
Anything further?
Yes, I'll just note that under State v. Kilgore, when we're dealing with a resentencing, it's like we're at sentencing anew. It's a brand new sentence. And so there's not a burden that's placed on the defense for the state necessarily at sentencing, particularly when we're dealing with Monchke Miller and Houston Stonyers. The court is very clear that Supreme Court is very clear that the trial court needs to impose an individualized sentence, that the court is to consider the mitigating qualities of youth. That's not the same thing as indicating that we have to prove by preponderance that mitigating circumstances exist such that an exceptional sentence should be imposed. This is not the kind of case where we have to ask for an exceptional sentence. It's at the discretion of the court.
Hmm.
And I apologize for raising it late. I prefer to brief it, but
Well, my thought is that what we may want to do is, as I have indicated to counsel, my intent is not to get to a sentence today. It is to listen to the testimony, listen to argument, and then take it under advisement. I want to, this is important. And I want to make sure that I consider everything that's before me.
That's fair.
And so my question and thought is that since you're just now bringing it up, if it would be to go ahead and do some briefing and get me some additional briefing.
I think that's fair.
So he's definitely not getting out today.
She's
Mr. Leducer,
Taking
do
time,
you
and
know
that's
the
fair.
status?
Yeah.
murder's a serious sentence.
Oh yeah. But it definitely tells us that she didn't have her mind made up already. So
And that's a good thing, if you ask me, because she could have just probably had it made up for a no right away and say no today. So it's still positive, guys. I think.
mm-hmm.
I think she's being very fair, actually, so far. So far. No, and y'all, it's okay. People don't know this case. It's fair for them to want to look further into the case before casting their judgment on it, and that
Oh,
is
yeah.
also fair. So, I think Dee Dee and the others in chat is fair with that. However, I will remove nasty comments that aren't needed. But it is fair to have to do your own research before what you think, and we invite you to do that.
Shannon, I don't know. I honestly thought that this was. I didn't realize what this was. Like, I think the defense is even a little bit taken aback because this is a resentencing.
Yeah.
So this isn't a hearing about whether or not to have a resentencing. This is a resentencing.
Yeah, so he's supposed to get resentenced today, but I kind of like that she's going to take it a little bit of time. So maybe tomorrow she has to have, like Dalen said, how long can she legally take to make up her mind?
Judge, this is Christine Santilli.
On tomorrow's
She
meeting?
made a victim impact statement at the other sentencing, and I've invited her in to.
Of course he did.
Address the
That's
court
right.
regarding sentencing at this time.
All right, ma'am, if you could just step right over in front of that microphone and then speak up as much as possible. If you would identify your name for the record and then go
No
ahead
idea,
and
Dalen.
make your statement.
Hi, I'm Christine Santilli. I'm Brian Suela's ex-wife. I'm his son's mother. I'm reliving all this over again. When Taylor murdered Brian, he knew what he was doing. Taylor was an adult. He knew how to get there.
Was he like
He
17?
planned it out.
Mm-hmm.
He stole guns from my hometown in Clatskanie the night before that he took up there. He was living at Brian's there for quite a while. He knew how to get up there. He knew Brian didn't have any self-defense. He knew he didn't have guns. He knew he didn't have anything. And he didn't just kill him. He didn't just shoot him. He tortured him. He went in and broke the door down and beat him and shot him. And as Brian fled away or however crawled away to Bobby's old bedroom, he was shooting at him and then shot him again. And then shot him again. And he climbed into his, somehow managed to go into his bedroom and got in front of the safe to open the safe. For what reason? There was nothing in the safe. He had no guns. He didn't even have the drugs that he should have. No money. He had nothing. And he blew his head up.
She's kind
So
of.
all that time of
She's not
beating
telling all truth.
and shooting him,
She's
He
lying a
tortured
little
me.
bit. That's,
it was uncivilized. Human beings don't do that to other human beings. Human beings don't even torture animals. You don't do that and walk on this earth. It's ever. It doesn't matter what your raising is. You're responsible for your actions. We're all taught that through life. Even when we're little kids, we know all of this, no matter what. And it doesn't matter how torturous our lives were when we were little. My dad was an alcoholic. My parents were divorced. Brian was born a drug baby and he didn't kill nobody. Bobby lived the rest of his life knowing his dad was murdered by one of his friends, someone he grew up with, someone he let stay at that house, someone
And
who
do
knew
drugs
every
with
way
him.
in, every way out. came up there and murdered his father. He never slept from that time. Bobby was never the same person. His dad had just lost his wife.
Panda,
Not
no,
more
he
than
did
5
not do
months
the
before
shooting.
that.
You have to wait. This is their.
Then he
this
went
is,
through this too,
you know,
of his son being murdered.
just listen.
There's
to it all.
nothing worse in this whole world ever, nothing more heartache to lose a child, but to have the pressure of all that. They changed. Both of them changed so much. They were never the same people again. They never, ever came out of it. Neither one. Bob passed away July 29th last year. Not of a drug overdose. He didn't kill anybody. He died of kidney failure.
Yeah, just
But you know
wait
what?
for
He
defense.
gave up on life. There was no hope
Because
left.
she's not telling you
We
all
all
the truth. And I
have
hate to say
hope
that
for Brian.
because it's her loved one
Hope
that's
for Brian to
lost,
come
but
out
she's
of
not
his
telling all the
stupor
truth
where
right
he
now.
was. Brian was a good person. He just got in a bad way.
And that's the
But
defense's
Brian
job
could
is to
pull
try
out of
and
that
keep
way
Taylor
if he
in
had a
prison.
chance.
So
And we all have the hope to be able to do that, to get him out of there, to get him better. Taylor destroyed that hope, and he intentionally did it. He tortured him when he did it. He didn't just kill him. No human being should ever be allowed to walk on this earth again.
Taylor.
Like I asked back then, I would request the death penalty.
Oh, bitch.
I'm not one
Joe.
to ask for the death penalty,
Sorry.
but you do torture people. If you're going to kill someone, okay, kill them. But don't torture them and kill them. It's just not right. We lost all hope. Bobby lost all hope. He lost everything. He paid for his funeral, for Brian's funeral. Nobody paid us for it. Everything that Brian had disappeared. Bobby didn't get any of it. There was no hope. It was one thing after another.
Well, what she's not telling you is that she did a lot
Brian's
of drugs
death
too.
changed a lot of people's
As
lives.
Taylor told us, they were robbing the
His
safe
dad
that
never
had
came out of it.
drugs, and there was. You'll see. Just keep listening, because
And it's just, Taylor was an adult. Bobby was an adult. He had to be responsible for his actions. He had just turned 18 or 19, maybe 20, within a month. And he had to be an adult. He had to get a job. He had to do the adult things. He had to do that before that.
but he was selling drugs.
I just feel that when you murder someone, say you were a child and you murdered someone, I can understand that. You know, having some sort of a leniency on it. You're 13 to 16, 17, 18 years old. But when you're months away from being 21, an actual adult, you go buy cigarettes, have a car, vote. You're responsible for your actions. You pay taxes. You get benefits that an adult would get. You are responsible as an adult. We can't go back and say parents did this or parents
She just
caused
said if he
this.
was
No matter what, we're
younger
always responsible
than
for our own
21,
actions.
okay,
And
let's
when
be
we
lenient
plan
on him
something, when we
for what he's
literally
done. But
plan
because he's
it out
21 or 20, don't be
to
lenient
how we're
on
going to
him.
do this, we've intentionally done this. And it wasn't a child intention, it was an adult thinking out how to do this and what they were going to get. Brian had nothing. Bobby ended up with nothing. All our hope is gone. Life was never the same. I do hope you take into consideration that it was torture. It wasn't just murder. It was torturous, heinous murder. And it was planned out. I would like to see him go to the death penalty. I would like to see what I asked for before, life in prison without chance of parole, sticking. He should never walk on this earth again, so please. I, as the family member, as the last, ask that his sentence be the highest extent of the law. As an adult, not a child. He wasn't a child. We have no hope. Hope's gone.
How long does she get to talk? We're just wondering.
As long as she wants.
Oh.
Anything further?
Thank you.
Yeah, I understand her position. I'm not saying, but I know that she's not telling all the truths in what she just said. So
Yeah.
that kind of sucks. But I mean, hey.
Well, and she's arguing the validity of this whole reason he's being resentenced is that
He was young and on drugs and made stupid choices. He doesn't ever deny that.
yeah, but now the Supreme Court had a thing that people in
And
their
Judge, this is
late teens,
Brian
early 20s
Myers.
are to be
He
looked at. So
Yeah, under the age
sort
of
of falls
21.
into the category of a victim impact presentation. However, I wanted to ask him some pointed questions. So if the courts would allow, I'd ask him to take the witness.
Oh, this is the guy.
Go ahead and step up here, please.
So they're just adding him last minute.
You're going to take testimony.
In order to assist and direct some information along with his victim impact. Yes, Judge.
Okay,
I think he should be sworn in.
okay. I'm going to have you stand and face me.
They're swearing him in.
Raise
not
your right
her?
hand. You
This is
swear
gonna
affirm the
be asked
testimony you're
questions.
about to give in this
Okay.
matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Shit, they
Alright,
should be
please
sworn
be
in and make
seated.
statements like that too, though.
And then just pull that mic kind of up to make sure, there you go.
That's crazy.
Proceed.
Brian, could you just, for the record, state your full name?
All I can ask is, yeah, I'll just listen
Brian
to this case
Robert
and
Eder,
listen to
last
it
name
all.
Eder.
How old are you, Brian?
I am 37 years old,
Okay.
last I counted.
All right. And do you know the victim in this case, Brian Suela?
Yes, I do.
Okay. When did you first meet him? How did you know him?
Growing up, Bob was my best friend, and Brian is Bob's father. And I traveled over to their house and hung out with them. We went on trips. He came to my house, Bob did, and just spent, quite a bit of time together. It was a
Okay.
small area, and we had a lot of time to kill.
Okay. So you mentioned Bob, and what's Bob's relationship to Brian Suela, the victim in this case?
Bob is Brian's son,
Okay. All right.
his only.
All right. And through your friendship with Bob, did you come to know Brian Suela?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And what was he to you?
Brian was like a mentor to me. He was like an uncle. We spent quite a bit of time together. And he was, at the time, a young, a role model, really. We, did things together. We went out four-wheeling. We went for rides in, he had classic cars. We spent quite a bit of time together.
Okay. And did you, at that time, know the defendant in this case, Taylor Conley?
Yes, I did.
How did you know him?
Well, we grew up together.
Right. Papa.
He lived just down the road from me.
Hey, true crime.
My sister babysat him once or twice, and I do remember going down to his house. We rode dirt bike together. We rode the school bus together. We went to, I don't recall if we had classes together, but yeah, we definitely knew one another.
You're not allowed to bring phones in there. She said she'll confiscate phones. True crime, but
To your knowledge, was
shit,
he
go
in
if you'd
special
like.
education classes or anything like that?
Not that I recall, no.
They probably wouldn't let you
You
in.
guys do normally
yeah.
boy, young man stuff? Did you say riding dirt bikes and whatnot?
Yes.
He's the
And
only
was
one.
Bobby Suela, Brian's son, in that group as well?
You know, just because of proximity, rural
That's
West
one.
Longview,
Probably
I would
another
assume he would have been
victim
at
impact
some
person.
point or another. I don't recall any specific time with him and Taylor together, you know, in
His
that
father.
time frame that I'm thinking of, you know, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. But I would say it's likely that we all were around the same activities.
Okay. And how did you learn about Brian Suela being murdered?
Well, the very first thing I remember hearing was that there had been all kinds of helicopters and canine units all over that side of the hill. And Bob came to town and called me and said something had gone on at his father's house, and he wasn't sure of it either. So I would say that Bob had kind of told me that something had gone on, and we went up to kind of try and find out what had gone on.
Hi, Bum Puff.
Okay. And where did you go?
To Sequoia, which is where Brian lived.
And was it at that point that you learned that Brian had been murdered?
We didn't learn for quite some time afterwards what had actually gone on. It was apparent that somebody had been murdered.
So, given your relationship with the Suelas, did the crime at all have an impact on you? And if so, tell the courthouse.
Well, you know, it took away a man that I would have been to this day still friends with. You know, I would have went to him for advice and the other things of that matter. I can't imagine how much different Bob's life would have been with his father. You know, his father was a very big part of his life. And, you know, it would have been really nice to see my best friend grow up with his father.
Thank you, Brian.
Anything?
No.
You may step down.
All right, so they can bring Juan back up or what?
And Judge, those were the only two victim impact witnesses that the state intended to present. So I'll defer to Mr. Downs.
Mr. Downs?
And Your Honor, we'd like to call Dr. Megan Carter to testify.
For real cotton candy.
She's in the hallway.
All right.
Okay, let's. Who's coming to testify again?
I think he said Dr. Megan something.
Hmm.
She'll say her name again, but
I'm nervous. Man, are they ever trying to paint this
Please
terrible.
step up right up here.
Right, Panda?
Face me, raise your right hand. You swear affirm the testimony about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please be seated. And then just pull that mic right in front of you, if you would. There you go. Proceed.
Thank you. Can you state your name and spell for the record, please?
My name is Megan Carter, last name Carter.
And what is your profession?
I'm a forensic psychologist.
And we've submitted your CV previously without having to go through all that background as the state stipulates your expertise.
Yes.
Thank you. So I'll just get straight to our questions here. Can you summarize briefly for the court executive functioning in adolescence towards young adulthood and the maturation process of that.
Okay, it'll be very brief because this could be a very long presentation. But essentially, as a person develops as a baby, their brain is clearly not fully developed. They have synaptic connections, but not that many. And as children move through childhood, their brain grows and the synaptic connections become numerous, many. And then as they move into adolescence, they have to prune that. So our brain naturally kind of cuts back the extra connections that aren't needed. And that allows for more efficient brain functioning. Also during adolescence, in addition to the synaptic pruning, they also have an increase in myelination. And the myelin, which I think most people would have heard more about with like multiple sclerosis, that's when the myelin breaks down and the brain doesn't connect, the signals don't flow as efficiently. So in adolescence, this myelination helps for more efficient brain functioning, which helps for their ability to problem solve and to reason and to come to conclusions and process information more quickly. Another piece of that is that the executive functioning mostly takes place in the frontal lobe, and that's the last area of the brain to fully develop. And so what we know is that as people develop through adolescence and into early adulthood, they develop more of these abilities to reason and problem solve and make better decisions and more efficiently consider information to make decisions. That part of the brain continues to develop through adolescence. And at the same time, there's some other changes that happen, like changes in hormone levels. So like dopamine increases in adolescence, which makes them tend to be more risky in decision-making and lacking that ability of the executive functioning to make better decisions. They kind of have some experts talk about it like having the gas pedal on, but not having the brakes developed yet. So they tend to be more risky in their decision-making and their impulsivity and their behaviors in general. And as they move into early adulthood, into the mid-20s, their brain fully develops and they're able to, like most adults, make more reasoned decisions, consider long-term consequences rather than focusing on the immediate rewards. But that's all part of executive functioning that develops through adolescence and into early adulthood.
So at age 20, is it fair to say that for normal brain functioning, that individual's brain is still not fully mature?
That's correct. I know that there are various changes in society with regard to what we consider adults, and different ages are rewarded, I guess, say with different privileges. So at age 18, you can vote, but you can't buy alcohol or drink till 21. The brain continues to develop up into the mid-20s. So age 20 would still be considered a less than fully developed brain, and especially the executive functioning.
And add drugs on top
And what
of that.
about an individual that's 20 years old that has had issues regarding trauma or substance abuse,
Yep.
mental health issues, that kind of thing?
So the process that I explained a minute ago, the maturation of the brain, that continues to occur through adolescence and into early adulthood. There are certain experiences that a person could have that could delay that maturation. So exposure to childhood maltreatment, and there's a lot more focus now on understanding adverse childhood experiences, which I generally call childhood maltreatment. That slows the maturation of the brain. Individuals who have mental health problems in adolescence tend to have more difficulty developing the myelination, and so their brains are less efficient. And so we tend to see a less progress, I guess, through that normal development. It doesn't mean that they won't eventually get there, but their brain tends to develop slower and differently than normal adolescents.
Mm-hmm.
And you talked about the either inability or lessened ability for individuals to consider long-term consequences versus short-term rewards, I believe. Could you expand on that a little bit?
So one area that we consider for that has to do with different types of impulsivity. So we tend to think of impulsivity like reactive impulsivity, like if somebody pushes you, you immediately shove them back without thinking about what's going on or the consequences. It's just a reaction. What is typical of adolescents is they demonstrate judgment impulsivity. So that doesn't mean that they can't think through things, but they lack a focus on future orientation or looking at long-term consequences to their choices and behaviors. They tend to focus more just on the moment. And that doesn't mean that they aren't planning at all, but that they're focusing on like, what do I get right now? As opposed to, if I do this now, how's this going to impact me or others later on? And that's another component of adolescence they're still developing, is that ability to consider other people in their decision-making. So adolescents tend to have more of that judgment impulsivity that develops, again, as the executive functioning develops into the mid-20s.
And you talked about impulsivity in your report. Could you just talked about it a bit. Can you kind of explain how you use the term impulsivity in your report?
So I didn't delineate as much as I just did with those two kind of definitions of impulsivity, but discussed a little bit more about the future orientation, the lack of ability to consider long-term consequences, positive and negative, to short-term choices. So in my report, I discussed some of the court findings and acknowledgements in how the brain develops, how we've come to understand a lot more about how the brain develops for adolescents, in understanding that they tend to be more impulsive. They tend to be, especially with this judgmental impulsivity, but also reactive impulsivity. But that does develop as they continue to move into the early adulthood. But even now they're finding that this is actually probably more delayed than we thought before. So certainly at 18 or 20, with these new considerations of the court, is that it's expected that adolescents tend to be more risky and impulsive as they have these different areas of the brain developing. And as they get older, they have more experience as well that they incorporate in. And that's all part of how the brain works, is processing this information, that increased frontal lobe ability with the executive functioning and increased ability to consider longer term consequences, to kind of slow down or to process all of that information efficiently, doesn't actually occur until a person is towards their mid-20s.
And can you talk a little bit about how trauma or stress can affect that ability to process?
So when a person is exposed to trauma, they're exposed to stress hormones. So like cortisol increases. And as that is repeatedly happening, so a one-time, scare, right? You have some cortisol, but your body's able to re-regulate pretty quickly. If you have ongoing traumas, which we see a lot of for people involved in the criminal justice system, that tends to keep those hormone levels high. That interferes with the ability of the brain to develop normally. So that's why we see a different development for people, for adolescents who have exposure to trauma. Their brain develops differently because of these different chemical reactions that happen with the trauma. And that tends to delay the maturation.
And you did a forensic evaluation in this case of Mr. Conley, correct?
That's correct.
And did you ultimately come to some conclusions?
I did.
What were those?
I concluded that he was 20 years old at the time that this offense occurred, and that he was functioning at a less developed, less mature level than others would expect. He had a history of child maltreatment. He also had a history of pretty significant substance abuse. Those things all interfere. He also had a more significant history of mental problems than I typically see. He had been psychiatrically hospitalized due to his mental health, I think a year or two before this offense occurred. And that would all indicate less mature brain development. And then I looked at those are general indications, but I looked at his functioning in general. He was not functioning as a fully mature, responsible adult at the time, and tended to function more focused on the immediate rewards and not so much on the long-term implications of his choices.
And were you able to see evidence
Bill,
of
for the bullshit, I'm
maturation
sorry.
later in Mr. Conley from age 20 on?
I was.
How so?
For that information, I spoke to his wife, I interviewed Mr. Conley, but most of that information came from his Department of Corrections records. And you can see earlier in his incarceration, he got a lot of infractions. So he wasn't following the rules like he should. And he didn't seem too fazed by that. So he continued to get infractions. But then as we saw him move into his mid-20s, when we would expect more brain maturation and ability to consider the consequences of his immediate choices, his infractions leveled off and eventually essentially disappeared. He has had I believe one infraction in the last decade, but what we saw was a dramatic change in his behavior. So one of the things I noted in my report was, even though he has been sentenced to life without parole, he didn't expect during his time in the DOC to be released. Early on, we saw him, not caring so much about the infractions and the behaviors, but then as his maturity became more evident, he stopped having infractions and started contributing more positively to the community that he had, which was in the DOC, and then what he could do, I think, in the community, more generally. But we can see that maturation through the infraction process and also his involvement in other, organizations within the prison.
And one thing I forgot to ask you about was peer influence and how that affects individuals that are either susceptible, they're biologically younger, or in terms of adolescence. And can you explain that to the court?
Yeah, there have been a lot of research findings indicating that peer influence is extremely strong during adolescence and young adulthood, more so than, for adults. And oftentimes we see that as a component of poor choices. So not only are adolescents more likely to engage in risky behavior, but if they're around other peers who are also engaged in those behaviors, they're more likely to continue that.
That's where you guys might hear there was
Mr. Conley's case, it was evident that he was around a lot of negative peers. He talked about actually from a really early age, he was around older cousins who were pretty heavily involved in substance use and criminal behavior in general, and that he was influenced by them early on. And then as he got older, a lot of his lifestyle was around substance use, which involved, negative peers and encouragement of, that kind of lifestyle and behavior that 100%. Unfortunately often kind of goes hand in hand with additional exposure to violence and to other traumas. So you have adolescents who are risky, who are involved in substance use, and then they're involved in that community and that lifestyle. They tend to end up with more traumas, being harmed, robbed, having physical health problems from getting involved in fights or those kinds of things, and having additional stress hormones added to their already less than fully developed brain. So all of those were components that I saw in Mr. Conley's history.
And you mentioned stress hormones. In Mr. Conley's case, was there anything that stood out? I think you mentioned his stay at Tranquility by the Bay or Casa by the Sea in your report.
Yes. Mr. Conley was having difficulty earlier, and his parents were attempting to kind of help him get on the right path, help have interventions for some of the problems that he was having. So they sent him to a residential boarding facility, which has been in the news more in the last several years about the level of abuse and frankly, torture that happens at some of those facilities. And there have been, my understanding has been some lawsuits against those facilities for the abuse towards the children. And Mr. Connolly talked about that being extremely impactful on his functioning, that he endured some pretty horrific abuse in the 2 facilities that he was at for, I believe, a couple of years. And when he came back, he said, essentially that he just couldn't kind of reintegrate back into normal adolescent high school life, that he was pretty traumatized by all those experiences at those facilities, and that he didn't actually get additional assistance when he came home. And that in part, drove the substance abuse, which led to the negative peer influences and the additional traumas, and kind of all part of the combination of experiences that he had that would indicate a lot of difficulties functioning as a normal adolescent or young adult.
And lastly, are you able to?
I love that you use the word torture.
Assessment as to likelihood to reoffend in the future?
I was not asked to do a formal risk assessment, so I did not complete that, but I did look at some of the literature with regard to violence offenses and in particular homicide offenses for young offenders.
Okay, can you explain some of the background information that you reviewed?
Yeah, just briefly, there's not a lot of information that says that even violent young offenders would go on to continue to be reoffenders if they were released. But there are particular indications that would tell us that somebody is at increased risk of recidivating or offending again if they were in the community. And that includes a history of engaging in violence in the community, having violent infractions in the DOC. And there's also some indication of having a number of infractions within 3 years of a release. So to look at that information, I looked at Mr. Conley's history and found that as a younger person, he didn't have a lot of history of violence. In the DOC, he did not have infractions that were related to violence. Most of his infractions had to do with tattoos, which he prides himself on as being a pretty experienced artist. And so they were more related to that than any kind of interpersonal problem. And then, as I noted earlier, he has not had any infractions or many infractions in a number of years. And I believe there was one infraction that had to do with perceived inappropriate behavior with his wife during a visit that was not violent in any way or against any other person. So none of those indications were present for him that would tell me that he was at high risk to reoffend if he was released.
Thank you. I didn't have any further questions.
Mr. Leduc, sir, do you have any questions of this witness?
Yes. Good morning, Dr. Carter.
Good morning.
So you gave the defendant some cognitive tests that you described in your report, right?
I gave him, I believe, two tests. One was the Montreal Cognitive Assessment, the MOCA, and the other was the Personality Assessment Inventory, or the PAI.
Okay. And for the first one, the Montreal Cognitive Assessment, you wrote that he scored 25 out of 30, and the score of 26 or above is within a range of normal functioning, correct?
That's correct.
And on the Personality Assessment Inventory, you wrote that he showed no elevations in any area of psychopathology.
Correct.
And then you also discussed, or it's under a caption, current diagnostic formulation. Does that
Correct.
ring a bell? Okay. And in that you wrote, Mr. Conley does not meet criteria for any diagnosis under the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, what we often call the DSM, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You submitted a report in this case, right?
That's correct.
And that was about 23 pages long.
Yes.
Okay. Now your report doesn't describe the facts of the crime, does it?
Not the facts, no.
Okay. Did you make yourself aware of the facts of the crime?
Yes.
How so?
I read some I can't remember if they were specifically the police reports, but certainly some of the court proceedings and background information that described the crime.
Okay. Did you state in your report that you reviewed the sentencing transcript?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. You didn't read the trial transcript though, did you?
I'm not sure if I had the trial transcript, but I believe that I did, and I believe I read parts of it. I'm not positive though. I'd have to go back and
It's
look.
about 1,000 pages long. Would that have helped you recall if you had read 1,000-page trial transcript as opposed to maybe a 4 or 5 page sentencing hearing?
Again, I believe I might have had the trial transcripts or most of it, but I'm sure I didn't read all 1,000 pages.
Okay. Did you make note in your report that you actually read the police reports?
Again, I'm not sure that I had the police reports. I know I had a description of the crime, so I have the overall understanding of what occurred.
Okay. So you wouldn't have read any witness statements, for example?
I don't recall reading specific witness statements.
Did you review any crime scene photos?
No,
Did you review any autopsy photos?
no.
So what's your understanding based upon the material that you reviewed of what happened during this crime?
Generally, my understanding is that at least two individuals broke into the home of Mr. Suela and were in the process of robbing him and shot him and killed him.
And when you educated yourself on the facts of the crime, did you determine who pulled the trigger on the shot that killed Mr. Suela?
That wasn't necessarily something that I was focused on, especially given the circumstances that the court has already convicted Mr. Conley of the offense. So I wasn't necessarily focused on determining exactly who did what during the offense.
So that wasn't important to you?
Well, my understanding is that the court has convicted Mr. Conley, and that my understanding is that he is believed to be the person who fired the shot that killed the victim. But I didn't necessarily focus on that.
Okay. In your interview and discussions with the defendant, did you delve into his conduct in committing the offense?
I did not.
Now, on page, you told the court what your opinion was. On page 12, do you have your report with you?
I do not.
If you need it, I've got a copy. I'd be happy to share it with you. Does this ring a bell, though? Because I don't want to misquote you. It is my professional opinion that at the time of the offense, Mr. Conley appears to have some experience and factors that impacted his ability to fully understand or consider the wrongfulness and consequences of his conduct. Do you believe that I quoted you accurately from your report?
I do.
So let's just kind of dive into that sentence a little bit. When you're talking about factors that impacted a person's ability to fully understand or consider the wrongfulness and consequences of his conduct, by conduct, you mean what he did in committing the crime, correct?
Correct.
Were you aware that in finding him guilty, the jury had to be convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that the crime was premeditated?
That's my understanding.
Okay. Were you aware of the factors and the evidence that was adduced at trial that showed that this was a planned crime, not a spontaneous crime?
I don't know that I'm aware of all of the factors, but I'm aware of the fact that Mr. Conley knew the victim, had resided with the victim previously, that guns were stolen, and I believe those guns are believed to have been used in the crime. And I'm not sure what other factors were,
Okay, all right.
were involved.
And then in conjunction with your opinion, you discuss, looks like 4 basic things here: youthfulness, child maltreatment, substance abuse, and negative peer influence. Do I have that right?
I did discuss those things.
In your report?
Yes.
At any time, let me know if you need a copy of your report. I'd be happy to give you one, okay?
I guess it depends on how specific your questions are going to be.
Well,
It may be helpful to have a copy.
Hey, Sonia.
Thank you.
I think the defense is kind of dropping the ball with this. I don't know. I'm like leaning on the hopeful side, but
Okay, so going back to your, the statement in your opinion that I referenced, and again, that's on page 12. I think I may have highlighted it in my own pen there in the report. Youthfulness, you're aware that he was about 7 months shy of his 21st birthday, right?
Yes.
Okay. So are you saying then that his age meant that he didn't fully understand that it was wrong to rob someone and shoot him in the head with a shotgun?
Well, as I explained, the information that I considered was with regard to brain development and an understanding that at age 20, the brain is not fully developed. And looking at his general functioning leading up to the crime, he wasn't functioning as a fully developed, responsible adult. So it's, again, that's one of the reasons that I discussed some of the differences in like reactivity, impulsivity versus judgmental impulsivity, is to understand that as an adolescent, it doesn't mean that the person doesn't understand that a particular offense is illegal or is harmful, but that their inability to consider the full ramifications of their behavior, their choices, and how that will affect them and the other parties in the future is impaired.
Okay. So are you saying that a person of his age would not have understood that the consequences of shooting someone in the head with a shotgun would kill them?
I'm not necessarily saying that. What I'm talking about is more of the understanding of how those sorts of decisions are made in the moment and can impact all the parties involved in the future. So I'm not necessarily saying that a person doesn't have an understanding that shooting somebody in the head can result in death, but that they aren't necessarily considering the future of themselves and the victim and the other people involved in making that decision in the moment.
So they're not empathetic?
Well, I don't know about in general, but that they're generally not able to consider all of the information in the moment in a quick, efficient sort of way, and consider how those decisions are going to impact the long-term effects. So, that could indicate empathy on some level, but I think that what the literature indicates, the research indicates, is that individuals with a less than fully developed brain aren't able to consider all of the factors in the moment.
You've mentioned in the moment a couple times. Now, wouldn't you agree that this case, given that a jury had to find beyond a reasonable doubt that there was premeditation, and as you were aware of, guns were stolen before the break-in and the murder, that wasn't exactly an in the moment spontaneous situation because of the planning that preceded the actual killing?
Right, and again, that's why I discussed some of that developmental immaturity with regard to judgment. It doesn't mean that the person can't plan, but they don't fully consider all of the ramifications of what they're focused on in the moment. So people with a less than fully developed brain tend to focus on the rewards of the moment, what they're going to get in the moment, without so much consideration on the long-term impacts.
You mentioned substance abuse and negative peer influence. There was no information adduced or evidence adduced at trial that he was under the influence of drugs when he broke into Brian Suela's house and shot him in the head with a shotgun, was there?
I am not aware of that information, so I don't know.
Were you aware that he was able to drive to and from Brian Suela's house?
I do recall some information about a vehicle and returning a vehicle to someone, so I would assume so.
Okay. And were you aware that he made statements to numerous other people after the crime indicating that he had a clear memory of the details of what happened?
I don't know about that specifically. I do recall there are other individuals who provided testimony or information that he reported to them various different details of the crime, but I don't know about how the clarity. I can't speak to that.
And you don't have any information from the evidence adduced at trial that he succumbed to some sort of peer pressure in committing this particular crime?
I don't know that I can speak to that. Again, I didn't ask him directly about the circumstances, and I don't recall that specific information from the court proceeding transcripts that I had.
Okay, so in other words, you're not aware of any circumstances that indicated that peer pressure was involved in the commission of this crime. It's fair to say.
Well, I know that he was with another individual at the time, so I don't know the circumstances of their conversations or interactions during the offense. I know he was with another individual, so I don't know how influential that person was or was not.
You provided some information in your report about family circumstances, and you learned that he was never in foster care or the care of other relatives, correct?
He was not.
He lived at home with his mother, correct?
I think until he went to the residential boarding facility.
That before that, his mother was working, was employed?
Correct.
His mother drank alcohol?
Correct.
He attained his GED?
I believe he did before he went to prison.
Okay.
I believe so.
Right. No indication that he had any major cognitive deficit disorders, wasn't in special education in school, correct?
Correct.
Thank you, Doctor. I don't have any other questions. And if I could get that back.
Mr. Downs?
Sure, just briefly. Can you talk a little bit about when peers are together, adolescent peers or otherwise, if they engage in riskier behavior, they influence one another?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's pretty commonly seen. As I talked about earlier, there's the hormone changes that happen, right? In adolescence, they tend to get more dopamine, which tends to make them more excitable. And they tend to engage in riskier behaviors in general. But when there are, multiple adolescents together, they tend to kind of encourage each other, I guess you would say. And without the advanced executive functioning abilities, the ability to really consider the choices, what could happen if they made those choices, and really kind of process information quickly, they tend to kind of encourage each other in risky behavior. They have less ability to kind of slow themselves down, consider the possible outcomes and what possible choices they could.
Just want to say something really quick. The whole reason that there is a resentencing is because the Supreme Court has acknowledged what this doctor is saying.
Right.
So they believe that that is absolutely true. So the fact that the defense is trying to refute that is odd to me. It doesn't seem like he's putting forth any information that's going to sway the judge. She already knows this. He doesn't really have a leg to stand on here.
Mature and responsible and seems to be very developed. But we don't tend to see that many of those individuals in the criminal justice system. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here. But when we do an analysis of youthfulness, it's not necessarily focused on the actual offense, but in their overall functioning, so that we can see generally how is this person functioning, not necessarily in any one moment in time.
And so in Mr. Conley's situation, around age 20 and 5 months, were you able to come to a conclusion about this maturity in relation to others that age?
Well, Judge, I think this has been asked and answered.
The state brought it up in cross. I want to make sure that it's understood.
Well, overall, go ahead and answer.
Yeah, so as I explained, my analysis was just generally how his functioning was at that time. And at that time, he was heavily involved in substances. He was not gainfully employed. I don't think he was even living at home anymore. He wasn't functioning as a responsible, mature adult who could make good decisions for himself. He wasn't paying rent. He wasn't taking care of himself. So these sorts of things all indicate less than mature brain functioning and these youthfulness factors that are usually considered.
All right. Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Anything further of
No.
this witness?
No.
You're excused. Call your next witness.
And the remainder, our witnesses don't need to be sworn in. They're just going to make impact statements. If that's okay.
Okay.
For.
Right.
So wanted to start with Cecilia.
Cecilia.
Okay, so hold on here. I want to get some direction. Yeah, let's go ahead and for safety reasons, let's go ahead and have you come up here. And just pull the mic right in front of you there. You hear me well? Yeah. Okay.
If you can just state your name for the record before making your statement. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, my name is Magda Cecilia Caballero, but I also go by Cecilia Conley, and I am the Los Cummings' wife. Can I begin?
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. Your Honor, my name is Magda Cecilia Caballero Gonzalez, and I have been president of Washington State since 2017. I have 14 years experience as a technology consultant, and I have been employed full-time for the past 6 years in one of the big four consulting firms, with office in Seattle. I have been working remotely since the pandemic. Taylor and I have been married for 6.5 years. We started out as friends, but we had so much in common and had a strong connection since the beginning. You could ask me why and how you feel such a connection with somebody serving life in prison. Of course, it's a very obvious question, but my answer is that Taylor may be physically incarcerated, however, but his mind, matters, and ethics are not somebody who's serving life in prison. One of the things that I admire the most of him is his resilience. One will think, why bother to do anything productive if you are serving life in prison? Taylor's never idle. He has a full schedule, things to do to better himself and nurture our marriage. Even as a lifer, he has been involved in plenty of programs in prison, which are education, volunteering for charitable causes, doing mentoring, and also gaining more skills to be a better person, and be able to give more. Aside from his impact in which is such programs, he's the mind behind the social enterprise that we started back in 2018. Without his inspiration and help, I would have not come with that idea myself, nor I would have been willing to put so much time and resources into it. For me, the Sun Conviction is a platform in which we find more people like Taylor, because there are more who is currently incarcerated or formerly currently incarcerated, who are better than themselves, healing, trying to find redemption and finding redemption and giving back to society. For him, is the chance for him to speak up and share his story, his mistakes, because I understand he made a lot of mistakes, to give back to society, to prevent more kids to end up committing the same errors that himself. So he's deeply committed to giving back, and it's, as I say, he's just such an inspiration. And I can proudly say that our organization has helped getting parole, funding for nonprofits, or overall creating a more safe environment within prisons, because we have a national-wide publication that goes inside prisons across this country. He has been able to re-amend his relationship with his friends and family from the past. In the beginning, I think, as I say, the doctors say it was difficult for him to kind of mature. Once he matured, he has started to rebuild the relationships. But also along the way, with all the things that we're doing together, we have been able to create a network of people, lots of them who are hitting, supporting us. Some of them are online streaming, looking up to him, supporting him, and willing to help him in any way, one way or another, to help him. They really are cheering him up for him. They're really wanting him to come home. So today, your daughter Mia, who is in the back, she's turning 3 months. And this is the third time that he sees his dad, well, if he actually can see him. COVID has been very difficult for us. Stafford Creek has been closed since mid-September, and there's no end in sight of when they're gonna reopen, if they ever do. Having him home to help his daughter will provide more stability in her life. He has a secure job with the Sun Conviction to continue our mission, helping people. And since I'm working remotely, I will be available to assist him to learn the skills required to run business, which I'm sure he's going to be able to excel. Having him around, I think, definitely will make a big difference in me and Mia's lives. So today I ask you to let Taylor come to his family. I understand the kid, he was needed to be put in prison. I really understand that. But that man that is in front of you is no longer that kid, and is no longer a risk to society. I trust him with my life, and I don't take that slightly. I really don't. I will be there for him, and his support system that you can see plenty of those people willing to support him. They will be there for him. And his support system includes people that who have been previously incarcerated, but also people that have never been in prison, which have degrees in mental health, psychology, and are more than willing to help. But I think the most important thing is I will hold him accountable. I am his first cheerleader, but he knows that I will hold accountable. I don't do it. Yep, I don't do weird things. So, of course, I always want to be willing to help him, to get him to programs, get him counselor. But if in the even remote possibility that nothing works, he knows that it will have no doubt and turn him in. I really don't. So, please, that's all. I don't know if you have any questions for me, Your Honor.
Go ahead and step down.
By the way, she taught herself English.
Call your next person.
Next person is Dallas.
Oh,
Go ahead and come on up here. Go ahead and have a seat and just pull the mic right in front of you.
that just got me, y'all. I love Cecilia, and I know
If you could just state your
how she
full
probably
name for the
feels
record and
about
then
her
go ahead and
husband.
make your statement.
Dallas D. LaGrange. So what I remember with Mr. Conley is playing baseball. Just kids. The funny thing is like,
Hey, Mandy.
we both went down the same path. Everything was good, and it wasn't. I was a detriment to society. I was in and out of this courtroom, I don't know how many times. Sitting in his seat.
Go ahead, Bill. Let me know.
But what I came to find out is there's a different chance, there's different options, there's different things in life. And I was given the opportunity to have a second chance and then a third chance because, you know, I just couldn't pull my head out. So I am no longer a burden. I feel now that I'm a pillar to society, to our county. I have my AA degree in chemical dependency. Well, it's substance use disorder treatment now. I have my bachelor's degree in human development, and I have my master's degree in social work. So through all of the negative things that I've had in my life, by giving a second chance, I get to be a part of my family. I hate becoming emotional, but the reality is, it's like, I couldn't imagine sitting in prison. What he's done is what he's done. You know, you can't take back the actions that you have, that you've done. And hearing some of the stuff earlier, it was difficult. So I knew I'd be up here today. But I do what I do for a living is because I totally believe people have second chances. They should have a chance at redemption. I was Taylor. And now I have, what is it, 2022? I have 12 years clean in my life. It's so different.
Dalen, I would imagine she does.
I remember seeing Taylor when I was in custody and he was getting dragged out of a cell because he was acting out. You know, I reached out to Taylor a year and a half ago, roughly, because of some of the things that I've heard he was doing. Some of the positives that he was doing. And I'm sitting in my house that I just built going, damn, I don't know if I could have done what he did, knowing that I was never getting out of prison. So I reached out to him, and Cecilia reached out to me afterwards, and I was like in awe of how somebody can make changes knowing that their life is behind bars forever. And then didn't have an idea that this was even a thing. So I sit here and I'm just contemplating just the thoughts that he had to have, just knowing that, you know, I'm never going to get out. This is my life. And I am going to change it around to help people. That's amazing.
Yes, it is.
And we've talked a lot. And I feel that he is not the same person that he once was. I am not the same person as I once was.
I think she's getting choked up. How can she not? Damn it, I'm crying.
And I truly believe in second chances. That's all I got.
Damn, dude.
That was good.
Anyone further?
Next one is Rick.
You had different expression of the judge. I think that got her a little choked up. I saw her swallow it.
Come right up here.
I don't know if I can listen to another one. I'm like, just
pull the
like,
mic right in front of you
Ooh.
after you sit down there.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Morning.
You could state your name then.
My name is Richard Kirkham. I came out here today because I wanted to add a little bit of different perspective to his resentencing. So I'm an ex-convict. I've got about 22 years all told in Washington's jails and prisons.
Wow.
4 different prison beds. My sons, unfortunately, followed me into the system, both my boys. I was a meth addict and a petty criminal and a violent criminal. And in all my time behind bars, except for my last 10 years, I didn't do anything for myself. I just kept waiting to get released to do more of what I've been doing. On my last incarceration, something clicked for me. I was 33 years old when I got locked up, 45 now. So when I got arrested, I was going through court holding and I hadn't seen my kids, either of my boys. My oldest was 17 at the time. Hadn't seen him in a year because I was facing life in prison. And I'm walking through court holding and I hear, "Dad!" And there was my 17-year-old son. And that was it. Didn't matter what I was facing. It took me until I was 33 to figure out that I had to do things differently, that I had a responsibility to people, to my community, to my family. And so I buckled down and I got rid of all my books for entertainment. And I just started reading anything that had any kind of spiritual or intellectual or moral value, whatever I could get my hands on. And then from county jail, I went to prison and I just started grinding. I started working on my degree. I started volunteering in programs. So I mentored men. I taught classes like the redemption class, the reentry program. I volunteered at violence prevention events. I mentored guys in the unit and taught them how to prepare for their release because the Department of Corrections doesn't do that. So I would bring them packets and we would sit down and fill them out so they could envision what their future was like, something that nobody ever did for me. And I had to learn it on my own. During that time, I became very, very aware of who I was around. Like what kind of people I could have in my life, what kind of guys I could sit down at the table with and chop it up with. Were they moving drugs? Were they, violent? Were they trying to hustle chicks? Were they I wanted to be around people that had good character. And so for years, several years, 5-6 years, I taught the redemption program, a 21-week course that focuses on just learning pro-social behavior. While I was doing that, I was also developing a plan for a nonprofit because I knew that I wanted to help people. And when I would talk to the guys in my program, some of the guys that I actually see here today, and I would say, "Hey, this is what I'm planning on doing," and just kind of bounce some ideas off of them. Very selective of the guys that I talked to. Taylor Conley's name kept coming up. I knew he was in the medium custody unit. And I was in the minimum custody unit. And for me, that's kind of a red flag because when you're in medium custody, you're either they see you as a threat or you're just a knucklehead. And so I was a little hesitant to reach out to somebody who was in the medium custody unit, just based on a character identity type of thing. But everybody, I heard it from so many different people. I said, okay, so I went to an officer that I knew and I looked up his infraction history, because if he's moving drugs or if he's getting in trouble, like I can't associate myself with them. If I want to succeed, I have to be around the best of the best. And so I spent a lot of time in my cell studying, or a lot of time on the wait deck with my earbuds in, and just trying to zone out. And everything else was dedicated to educating myself and helping others. When I met Taylor, I was stunned, because Taylor was a man after my own heart. But it didn't take him 4 prison bids and the destruction of his own family to figure it out. He just needed to grow up. And as soon as he grew up, everybody knew it. Taylor was the guy you could go to for advice, for resources, for encouragement. If you needed help with your family on the streets, Taylor was there for you. You've heard a little bit about Design Conviction, their company. They raise money for children of incarcerated parents every year, among the many other great things they do for prisoners and their family members. That's what I wanted to do. So I started talking to Taylor and learning a little bit more about him. And the thing that I think stands out the most, and I think it's really important for the court to know this, because there's a loss of life here. There's a victim. In prison, when you have a dead body, as they say, when you're a killer, like you're top of the food chain. People look up to you. It's like a really disgusting dynamic, that you're like this hero. Oh yeah, he's a killer. He's cool. He's a good dude. It's a terrible thing, but that's the culture in prison. And so I was in on a manslaughter, which I deeply regret. And I didn't walk around bragging about. And kind of my litmus test for whether or not I was going to talk to Taylor or hang out to him, like, was very intentional. And it was me asking him, so what are you in for again? And I was expecting what I got from everybody who was in on a murder bit. Yeah, you know, I killed somebody. It's like it was something cool. And Taylor was the first person that I ever asked that question of, where he started to choke up and said, man, I don't want to talk about it. And pardon my language, he says, man, I fucked up. And a man lost his life, and I can never fix that, but I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure that I help others so that they don't do the stupid things that I did. Nobody says that. Nobody's ever said that. 22 years I had in, so 17 at that point. Nobody had ever said that to me. They all said, yeah, this dude had to come in, and yeah, I went and got my money. This dude here is a different dude. I've been out about a year now, after my last 10.5-year incarceration. I've already founded a nonprofit called XCon Incorporated, Reducing Recidivism and Generational Incarceration in America, etc. It's kind of a long spiel. I'll spare you. And I've been working really hard. I work a day job so that I can put money into my own nonprofit. Taylor was way ahead of me. Taylor was already doing all the things that I wanted to do when I got out, and he was doing them from inside because he had no expectation of going home. That takes a drive and determination that was beyond even me. And now I've been out a year and I've already established my nonprofit. I'm already sending correspondence courses to prisoners. And Taylor invited me last year to play a song and donate some artwork for their charity event to raise money for children of incarcerated parents for Christmas. And then this year, Cecilia and Taylor, their mother, and Jerry, now that I'm a nonprofit, they said, hey, we would like to do something bigger and have a bigger impact. And so they brought me on as an event coordinator and planner, along with Cecilia and Susie. And we have been working tirelessly. We have approval for our art display. It's going to be a silent auction, and we'll be selling art prints all created by prisoners. And we're going to raise so much money for children of incarcerated parents, which is important to me because my boys and my daughter, I had to send them presents through Angel Tree every year. And it's humiliating and it's tough to not be able to provide for your families. And he saw the need and he moved heaven and earth to fill it. He's written books for entrepreneurs in prison. I've never come across a more driven, positive, and real guy on the inside. I told you that I taught classes. One of the things that really stood out to me is I would be teaching these classes and these guys would come in and you could tell who were what I call certificate chasers. Yeah, I just need the certificate, from my clemency. And who was really there because they wanted to gain knowledge, they wanted to be a better person. Taylor is the epitome of that. And I think I have one more thing to say. I've watched probably hundreds of clemency petitions or pardon reviews, things like that, on TV from the inside. And one of the things that they look for when they're considering releasing an aggravated murderer, a three-striker, you name it, they always say the same thing. What's exceptional about your case?
Nikki.
Guys will say, well, I got my degree and I took all these classes, and I tried to stay infraction free. And they always say, that's what we expect you to do. Taylor Conley has done what people would normally expect. And then he's done what nobody could ever expect. I know that there's been a loss of life. And Taylor has lost a lot of his. And I feel terrible for any victims of violent crime. I was not a good person. I was a drug addict, and it took me forever to grow up. But if Taylor doesn't go home, community and society suffers. Community and society suffers the loss of the benefit that Taylor already brings to his community on the inside and reaches out as far as he can. But if he doesn't come home, we lose an asset. And I know that because nobody ever thought it would be an asset. I've got 19 felonies and 38 gross misdemeanors. I'm the poster boy. I'm the poster boy for the 3-strike law. And somehow I'm out. I'm making the most of it. Taylor's been making the most of it for years now. And he never thought he was going to get out. And so I really appreciate your time. And I want you to know that, that I understand you have to weigh punishment and the benefit to society. I don't think punishment's going to help anyone in this case anymore. Taylor took his punishment like more of a man than anyone I've ever seen. It's tough to do. Thank you, Your Honor.
Anyone further?
Yes, Mark.
Yeah, I believe Taylor deserves a second chance. He has
Go
rehabilitated.
ahead and have a seat there and just pull the mic right in front of you, if you would, please.
Morning. My name is Dr. Mark Imlay. I'm a retired chiropractor and acupuncturist. I'm not speaking in a professional manner here. I'm speaking because I'm his uncle-in-law and married to his aunt, with whom he was close for most of his life. And I remember meeting Taylor first in the year before the offense was committed. He visited his aunt a couple of occasions. And he was a very troubled young person. And he couldn't communicate well at all, or refused to. Behaved in odd ways and expressed a disdain for social mores and limits. And then the offense happened, and we followed the trial. And his first 2 years in prison, he was still having a lot of trouble, and we feared for his safety. But around 10 to 15 years ago, he really started turning around. Another thing in my background, I've been a meditation instructor for 40 years. And he had started on his own a lot of self-analysis and self-introspection, and was learning to become a self-actualized person. He learned the value of society in terms of everyone's survivability, the importance of following the rules. He learned, beyond that even, he learned that following the rules of society as set down by the various religions throughout the world isn't just something you do for a future benefit, that's how you live a happier life now. And he learned this not just through intellectual understanding, but through actually personal experiment with his life in prison. And I was fortunate enough to watch him blossom over the years into a force and an influence for good within the prison. He's taken on many things, like being the head of the Toastmasters in his prison. He's a counselor and a mentor for people who are first time in prison. He's worked on what to me is probably the most important thing, is the problem of recidivism in terms of his teachings and communications with people about that, to help people not commit crimes again once they're out, help them reintegrate into society in a useful way. And I think he's proven himself to be a force for good, not just in the fact that he isn't doing the things he shouldn't be doing, but he actually has gone beyond that to do things to improve not only his life, but others as well. And I'm sure he will continue to do that regardless of what happens here. But I think it would be better if he could do it on the outside, because he's expressed interest in counseling people who are
yes, please.
young people who are involved in crimes early on, to try to nip the problem in the bud, so to speak. So I think he would be a boon to society. And I think he would be able to be more of a positive influence in society rather than from in prison. As others have said, he went through a remarkable transformation. He's not the person that he was. And I think everyone would benefit from his release at some point.
Go ahead and step down there. Anything further?
Next person is Jim.
Are you calling Jim Peterson?
No, Jim Chambers.
All right, if you'd state your name, please, for the record.
My name is James Chambers. I'm formerly incarcerated myself. I served 22 years in Washington State prisons. I received clemency from the governor and was released April 7th of 2021. I met Tyler in 2018 at Stafford, but we really got involved together in like 2019 when we were doing Toastmasters together. And him and I would have many deep conversations about our lives, what ended us up in prison. And the one thing that always stuck with me about Tyler was how he spoke about his crime, the remorse he had. And that's a rare quality in prison, because a lot of people talk about their crimes like it's just nonchalant. And for myself, I had, worked with thousands of men. I taught classes in prison for 22 years. Tyler was very interested in children incarcerated parent issues, which I spoke a lot about at the Toastmasters. So that's a lot of our conversations around. And then he picked up the idea about supporting children of incarcerated parents and has grown it into an amazing thing. For myself, I don't take it lightly coming up here and speak for someone to be released, because I don't want any more harm caused in my community either. It's something I really weighed and thought about before I did it. And there's only a handful of people in prison that I've met that I would actually do that for. For me, this is something I take serious, and I believe he'd be a great benefit to our community and the things he could do for his daughter. because it's an important role for fathers to play in their daughters' lives. I had a daughter go to prison in 2013 during my incarceration. So I understand the need for fathers to be actively involved in their children's lives. And 5 of my kids went to college. My daughter, she chose the other path, and she still struggles with addiction today. But I truly understand the impact of incarceration. And I also understand the impact of harm that we cause in our community. You know, harm don't just stop with the victim or their family. The harm was to Tyler, to how he was raised, to his family, to our community, and everyone else. So, and those are things we talk about, you know, among a small group of us. And
my earbud.
so, I mean, I'm here today just to let you know that he deserves an opportunity and to ask you for mercy and to use your discretion to give him a sentence that would return him home to his family. You know, I received a rare opportunity from the governor, so I understand how much it means to have that opportunity. So for Tyler to have this opportunity today in front of you is an amazing opportunity for him.
Taylor.
But I hope you really weigh all the things that are involved here. And I don't want to take away from anything that the victim said, because when she was speaking, I could feel it. You know, I think we've all caused harm. Most of the impacted people that I know have caused harm. And once they learn about that harm and how it affects people, now I'm in the community changing that. I work for a nonprofit called Well Works, and we bring people in that are formerly incarcerated, coming from treatment, get them in housing, find them jobs, mentor. We do every kind of reentry service we could. And so, and I'll be there for him too. 100%. If he needs something, and I'll hold him accountable. As will, I think, every formerly incarcerated person that is here speaking for him. We're not going to not hold him accountable, just like everybody holds me accountable. So I think that's all I have to say. And I appreciate you allowing me to speak today.
This judge has a far better poker
Our
face
next
than I've ever
person.
had in my
Next
life.
person is Willie.
She's freaking me out, man. But I think I see compassion in her as well, though. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? I'm freaking out, man. I hope we get an answer by Monday, though. I don't know how long she's
Have a
allowed to
seat
think.
there and have a mic right in front of you.
A lot of
Hello,
people
Your
show
Honor.
up for Taylor, man.
My name is Willie Nobles. I'm a father. I'm a lobbyist. I'm an activist. I'm a community member. And I think the reason I want to start with that is because for me, being able to give back to community and help is so important. And I think Taylor is a prime example of that. And the reason that I said I started with my name and the things that I am, because just 1 year ago, my name was Willie Nobles, DOC number 750640. I have 96 years in prison. So you would never know that I would be here today if it wasn't for men like Taylor. Taylor was influential with just me becoming the man I am today. And he was just so pivotal in the growth of many of the people in here today. We carpooled from Seattle, from Tacoma, because we believe in him. Just like Jim said, we don't take this lightly. We're accountable to those we come speak for because we're community. We believe in the community. And like you said, just the victims, that's our main job. Our main job is to support the victims and help them, because no one wins in these situations. And for me, I end up changing my life around just like Conley. I did 25 years in prison. So for me, I failed when I was 18, and I was 19 years old, but I was naive. I was immature. I was a kid. I was not grown at all. Even though I was driving, I was taking care of home. I was taking care of my responsibilities, but I was still immature because I was doing dumb things. I think the statistic shows all these different reports show that the maturity level is not fully mature until your age 25. And yeah, there's some that's mature at a young age, but growing up the way that we grow up, I believe that for us is different than just for someone else, right? The harm that we went through, the trauma that we went through, all the things that we had to endure. But I'm not taking away from the crime. I'm not taking away from anything. I just want to say that people change. We deserve second chances. I'm Houston Scuniers, right here in front of you. We got someone in the courtroom right here. He's Munsky in the back, Kamani Carter. He's out. He's Munsky. He changed his life around. So everything that Mr. Conley has done for this whole courtroom, and not only for us, for the community, we stand by him, we support him, we're going to continue to support him because we believe he deserves a second chance. He's done way more than many men in prison. And I know, Honor, that you have seen all the stuff that he's completed and all the things he's done. And I know, just like Jim said, you're in a sticky situation, but I believe that you can change the demographic to help him change the community, right? Because if it wasn't for the Stanley Ronbaum, Pierce County, he's the one that gave me an exceptional sentence downward. I went to get 4 years taken off my sentence, and he gave me an exceptional sentence downwards because of the Houston Scuniers, in the light of all these new laws, in light of the juvenile mind. And that's what he is in front of you. We got Monsky, we brought Houston Scuniers, we brought Clemency, we brought all the ones that's out here in the community and doing change and continue to do the work for the street, for the community. And I promise you, Your Honor, we will take Conley up under our wing, and we have a job for him. I'm program manager for Fabian's Fund. We do prison reform, we do community activist work, we work with the youth. So all the things that we're doing is to better our community. So he needs to be part of this community. So Your Honor, I just want to say, I want to plead with you. I want to say, I don't want you to take things lightly or think that you're doing the wrong thing, because I think we all believe right is right and wrong is wrong. And he's done enough time. He's done way more than many of the men that's come here today that got a second chance. He deserves a second chance. And I want to say, I think, Your Honor, that you can give him the 16 years that he's asking for. And I guarantee that he will be out and raise his kids, and he will be doing the same work that we're doing in many of these courtrooms that we're going into. We have another courtroom that we're going to at 1:30, Your Honor. And I just want to say thank you for your time. And I just want to let you know that I'm Houston Scuniers, because I'm not Houston Scuniers, but I went back and got resentenced under Houston Scuniers. And we also got Muskie in here. So everything that you're saying, that how can we know that he can be a productive citizen in society? We know that. The mentality, we understand that, because we're doing it. So I just want to thank you, Your Honor, and I just want you to just please take into consideration his youthfulness, the stuff that he has done to the community, the change that he has done, and just his well-being of him being a productive citizen of society. I'm, like Jim said, we don't take this lightly. We're not sitting here and advocating for everyone. We know he's a pivotal part of our movement out here and community, and he's going to help us. So thank you, Your Honor.
Step down. Oh, your next witness person?
Last one is Sarah.
Okay, go ahead and have a seat there and just pull the mic right in front of you there.
Alrighty. My name is Sarah Leone, and I did write this down, if that's okay, so I did not want to scramble my thoughts. My name is Sarah Leone, and I've known Taylor for about 1.5 years. We met through his wonderful wife, Cecilia. You see, my husband is also incarcerated at Stafford Creek. And before I met my husband, I honestly didn't know or associate with anyone who was in prison. I never cared what was behind those walls, because I never thought about looking. But after meeting and growing in love with my husband, a kind, intelligent, patient, and loving man in prison, I assumed he was an anomaly. But I was soon corrected when I befriended Cecilia, and I learned how she spoke about her husband, Taylor. And the oftentimes we hung out at their home, with Taylor calling on speakerphone. We all three would hang out, chop it up, and it was like he was there. Even though he was essentially a million miles away, he genuinely listened to me. He was my friend. He is my friend. And every time he would call, he would always ask me questions, like personally, like how my life is going. And that's when I saw that even though, despite the fact that he is a man with a life sentence, he is still worthy and an amazing catch from my phenomenal friend, Cecilia. Both Taylor and my husband, Matthew, are mentors in the SBU, which stands for Skill Building Unit. And that's a part of the facility where all of those who are housed with development delayed inmates, or those who have suffered a traumatic brain injury and simply can't function with the mainline population. These people are special needs and they require extra care. In fact, in order to even become a mentor, it requires special screening through admin to ensure that they will not take advantage of the most vulnerable. In other words, they're the trusted few. So I recently ran for state rep in my legislative district, and Cecilia was part of that conversation when I was on the verge of announcing I was running. As you can imagine, running a political campaign takes a lot of support, and Cecilia was there with me every step of the way, even more than my own family. Cecilia taught me that support is an action word. I learned very quick that verbal words of support are essentially weightless. It's action. Cecilia was there for every campaign meeting. She spent the extra time helping me edit my website, creating logos for me to choose from, and gave me honest, straightforward advice. And all this while being in her second and third trimester pregnancy. I cannot put into words how instrumental her support was for me. The reason I bring this up, Your Honor, is not because of me, but because I'm affiliated with multiple reentry services, nonprofit organizations across the board. They say that one of the most effective ways to ensure a successful reentry is a supportive, stable, and understanding spouse. And she is supportive of him, and he is supportive of her. And not only do I wholeheartedly believe in the mutual support the Conleys have for each other, but Taylor is also supportive of my husband, which helps me. And which you might be able to imagine, it's a rare thing while living in a warehouse. Matthew says that Taylor is by far one of the better mentors, always kind, patient, ready to help, which we can all agree is sadly even a rarity out here. With that being said, I'm not going to diminish the reason why Taylor was sent to prison. His crime was heinous and awful. And I may never know the pain and tragedy that he caused for Brian's family. But what I do know is that man I know today, sitting before us right now, he's not capable of something like that. We all have heard about the Conleys Project Design Conviction. Through this magazine, I actually do believe they're saving people. The people who are writing and submitting their artwork for Design Conviction are not looking for fame or fortune. They're looking to simply connect to the community. And the Conleys magazine has given them that opportunity. And I think that's important. It's very important. We're talking about human beings who are cast away from society, disregarded from their communities, and often even shut out from their own families. A sense of worth and belonging can go a long way. And when an article of theirs gets published in simple Google search can show their name and bring their voice to existence in society, to me, that's one of the most validating things we can experience. When we consider what we truly want from an incarcerated person, we want accountability for their actions and responsibility for the harms they have caused. What we want is them to do something better with their lives, to be someone better than they were. And Taylor, he does that. Taylor hasn't been just doing time. He's been creating a better life for himself and others and moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Cecilia already has a stable home waiting for him. And not to mention a beautiful baby girl who needs her dad to watch her grow. And I have no shred of doubt that Taylor will reacclimate as a productive member of our society. But he will always have a place in my home and in my life. Thank you, Your Honor, and everyone else here for listening to my words.
Anyone further?
I know there are other individuals that are present that probably would like to speak. Those are all the individuals I list on my witness list, so I'll defer to Your Honor. You'll let another one or two speak.
I'll leave it to you.
Okay.
You know what they have to say, I don't.
Right.
Let me just stop here for just a minute. I'm concerned regarding time at the moment. We're at noon. And we have first appearances at 1 o'clock that need to be taken care of. So I don't know if council, are you available still this afternoon or?
I
I can make myself available.
Are we gonna get sentencing this afternoon? Ah!
Okay. So let's do this. We're going to break for lunch.
Oh shit.
And then we'll resume approximately 1:30, just depending on how long the first appearances go. And then we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you.
Court will be in recess.
Oh shit. So that would be
For those on Zoom, I'm going to have to reconnect.
okay. Oh snap. May not be ruled on today, but it's the weekend, right? So how long? Let me see. How long does she have? Oh man. Till 1:30. What time is that? 1:30. Hold on. I don't know. I think the judge is pretty fair. I'm not sure she's going to give him time stayed, but let's say, like, even if she resentenced, let's say she wants him to do 25 years. Okay, he's got 16, right? So that's still giving him, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't fucking know. I would love him to be released immediately, of course, but I would also think it's fair if they think maybe he needs a little bit more. And I think with talking with Cecilia too, they're even, you know, okay, well, let's say like he has to do 3 more years. Do they want that? No, of course not, right? They want to start their life together on the free world side. So, but they wouldn't complain at it either. You know what I mean? They would be thankful for that as well, right? So, I don't know. That judge has a really, really good poker face. Washington County. It's Washington. It's in Washington State. Wait, what county? What's it say? Oh, I forget. Let me look. Get good time too, right? Because he's only had the 1 infraction in a decade, right? That's what they say. What do y'all think, though? Give me a second. Sorry. Okay, so there's a intermission or whatever. No. No. So they ended that one. They're coming back after. I don't know what time our time.
Guess we'll just have to watch for it.
What'd they say? Yeah, 1:30, right? Around 1:30. So what time?
I imagine it's probably an hour from now.
An hour from now? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think we're an hour ahead of Washington.
An hour ahead?
I think.
So that would be 2:30 for us?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what time is it now? So that's another hour and a half.
Yeah.
All right, y'all, we're going to be back. We're going to go eat lunch, and then we're going to start a part 2 to this. So we will be back in an hour. Yeah, we'll start a few minutes before they start. So meet back here, watch, I'll get a part 2 set up, and then we will, or do I just leave this one going? No, we'll set up a part 2. So I'll get it set up, be watching for that, and be back in an hour. Potty break. Love y'all. See you in an hour. Bye.